originally scheduled calendar meeting for this evening. So thank you for joining us, and Carly, we'll start with the roll call vote.
Hold on, I'm looking for Wendy. I just saw her and I can't.
So this is our first hybrid meeting. I'm not
Sorry.
sure. I'm hoping that the public
Thank you, Lord.
who's here virtually and the CEC members that are here virtually can hear me, see us, and we have a smooth meeting. If you cannot hear us, please let us know and we will pass the microphone around.
So give me 1 second, okay? I'm sorry. It's not showing me my participant.
If you want to give me access.
I don't see you. You're on there? You're here?
Yeah. What is this? Here?
No.
Middle?
Oh, I see. Sorry, Wendy. I was looking for you.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I couldn't, on my end, I could not unmute myself for,
But I had to make you co-host.
oh, I see. Thank you.
Esther. Yes,
Does everybody have access?
yes,
Ready to start?
yes.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Carly, our administrative assistant, to go through the roll call, please.
Joseph Di Benedetto,
Present.
Wing Yu,
Present?
Anne Marie Knable,
Present.
Joseph Chow,
Present.
Sung Young Lee,
Present.
Rashmi Krishnaraj,
Present.
Michelle Frederick.
Here.
And Sana Tayeb. You're all here.
Wonderful, we're all here. We have complete form. We have actual full house here. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And once again, welcome to our January calendar meeting. The purpose of this evening is we had been requested to submit our request for capital improvements, which is one of the functions of CEC, to the School Construction Authority. And we have the pleasure of Danielle Schaaff from SCA joining us this evening, as well as William Leroy of Facilities. So we thank you for joining us. We're going to do some house cleaning stuff first, and then we will bring on our speakers. So at this time, I want the council members to review the minutes from our December meeting. And if we're okay to approve them, we'll have them approved. So I'd ask the council members to review the December meeting minutes, and if there's any objection, let us know.
Joe, I have a
Yes,
question. Under absent, I know I was absent, but would that be an excuse absent? Should that be further
yes,
labeled?
right. That Rashmi's absence last month was an excusable absence, so
And I also have
For the
to
record.
add Michelle Frederick on the absent as well.
Okay.
Okay, both of them.
so that should be corrected, and it should be marked as excusable.
Okay.
absence.
Got it.
That's for Rashmi
Mm-hmm.
and for Michelle.
Got it. I'll fix that.
So on item number 6 on the minutes, vote on member candidacy, it should say withheld due to lack of quorum,
Okay.
right? Because we didn't vote on it at our December meeting.
That's why withheld, okay. I just put with-
And it should say due to lack of quorum.
Okay.
Okay, do I have consensus on the approval of the minutes for December? Subject to the changes we just made? December minutes are hereby approved. How are you? Welcome. Okay, so, you have an objection on starting with SCA? You want to do your report first?
No,
You
great.
have that? Because this way,
No, I'm great.
you sure?
Yep.
Do you have a report?
Yeah.
So why don't we do your report first? This way when we go through them. Discuss the- So just in terms of making our meeting move forward, logistically, I'm gonna ask our superintendent to give her report so we can receive that, and then we'll move on to our discussions.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm very excited to welcome all of our families and students back to school for the year 2022, and I'm wishing us a wonderful, wonderful year. I'm also very excited to welcome our new chancellor, David Banks, as always. We are excited to have him come visit District 25, and we're looking forward to hearing from him soon. I know that he's traveling across the city and visiting different schools, and every time I get an opportunity, I always say, come see how amazing District 25 schools are. So I'm very excited to work with him and have him come see the amazing work we're doing. I want to start by saying, and if there are questions, we can put them in the chat. I'm thinking for the end of the meeting. I know that some parents may have questions and concerns today about our stay safe, stay open policies, and I will be addressing them, but I do want to say thank you to parents for trusting us and the work that our principals and our teachers are doing to ensure school safety. As we welcome our students back to our school communities to both support them academically and socially, emotionally. So I've been visiting schools all year, but specifically since we went back this past week, I was at junior high school 185, and I was just really excited to hear from the students and how important it is for them to be back at school. I had a meeting with the parents and received a lot of information around their feelings and recommendations that they would like to see from the school, especially just in terms of socialization and how we can do that safely, around re-encouraging students about accountability and responsibility for their work, and even so much as getting up in the morning and getting back on schedule. So I look forward to continuing to have those conversations as we enter back into school full time and hopefully get rid of this ugly and nasty COVID pandemic. So I do have some announcements, enrollment, grade by grade. So pre-K and 3K. For children entering 3K and pre-K in fall 2022, set up your My Schools account. With My Schools, you can explore your child's school's options, apply during application periods, and get other information for next year all in one place. For kindergarten, the kindergarten application is open and the deadline to apply is January 18th, 2022. For middle school applications will open the week of January 10th, which is yesterday, and the deadline to apply will be the week of February 28th. Remember, for District 25, we are very lucky to have our middle school choice program, which means our 5th graders can apply to any school in District 25. And that includes our zone schools. That also includes our application schools, such as 379, Bell Academy. And it includes our 6 to 12 schools, such as East, West, and World Journalism. So we encourage families to contact any schools that they'll be interested in and speak with their parent coordinators to get information about virtual presentations. Personalized welcome letters, which include information on how to set up your My Schools account, were shared with families in mid-December. So if you have not checked, please go on your child's My Schools account for that. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact your child's elementary school guidance counselor. For high schools, high school application will open the week of January 24th, and the deadline to apply will be during the week of February 28th. Once again, for our middle school parents, if you have questions and concerns about the application process, please make sure that you are contacting your child's middle school guidance counselor. Okay, stay safe and stay open. Our home test kits, beginning January 3rd, schools have distributed free take-home COVID-19 rapid tests to any student or staff member who exhibit COVID-like symptoms or have been in a classroom where a positive case has been identified. Any student who tests positive on a take-home test, we ask that you report it to the school and begin isolation. Students who test positive must isolate for 10 days and can return to school on day 11. No negative test is required to return to school. As a reminder, all students, staff, and visitors must pass the DOE health screener in order to enter school buildings. Additional questions will be added to the health screener for those students and staff who receive at-home rapid kits to share their negative results. No other proof of a negative result is required in order for these students to enter the school building. Our new quarantine policy, and as we know, as this COVID situation is evolving, our policies do change, so please check the DOE website or call your school's parent coordinator if you do have questions. For students in kindergarten through grade 12, unvaccinated or not yet fully vaccinated students who were in close proximity to a positive case will no, oh my God, I can't read this math. I'm sorry. Will no longer have to quarantine and will continue attending school if they do not have symptoms and do not test positive from a COVID test. Instead, all students and adults that in that classroom will receive a take-home rapid test kit, which contains 2 tests, and take 2 tests over the course of 5 days. So if you're exposed on Tuesday, you'll get a kit. You'll take the kit within 24 hours of receiving it, and then within 5 days, unless you start to feel symptoms, and then you can take the test sooner. Increased school surveillance testing. To further ensure the safety of our students, families, and staff, the in-school surveillance testing program is expanding to double the number of individuals tested in each school, including both vaccinated and unvaccinated students in grades 1 and up. Note, daily COVID case maps and roll-up emails to families, because this has been something that's coming up in terms of schools. The daily COVID case map on the public website and the roll-up email sent to school communities is being updated to reflect new policies now that there are no more class or school closures. All that, yep. And that is it for me.
Thank you, Danielle. So I know that there are, because the CEC has been getting some emails about some concerned parents. I'm assuming there is a chat. Carly, if there's any comments or questions from anyone in the public, I ask that they put it in the chat. If unless there are questions now, I'm going to move on with the meeting. If you mind, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Is there anything in the chat? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions for our superintendent, please let us know. Unless one of the CEC members here has a question, Superintendent. Anyone here? Sunny? Sunny? Okay. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to ask Danielle Schaaff from SCA to present to the community the requirements for recommendations or any changes to our the capital improvement project. Danielle, are you there?
She can unmute herself.
You can unmute yourself.
She's co-host.
Okay. Okay, I think we can hear me now. Yes. Good. Okay.
You have to talk a little louder.
Okay, sorry, I'll try. Is that better, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Happy New Year, CEC 25. It is great to be back talking with you all tonight. And SCA is very excited to be able to present our capital plan to you. I know already we had a little conversation about going over the BCAS report, and I assure you it's within the presentation. And then anything further questions and so forth, we will happily look at right after the presentation. I'm just trying to get that to share the screen for you, because it would be a lot more visually pleasing if I can show you my presentation and not just my voice the whole time. I'm trying. I don't know why it's not.
Click on the whatever it is that you want to share.
Yeah, the
Press
green.
share. No,
Yeah.
click on what you want to click on, whatever document, then you click
No.
the share button.
No, I did it. It happened now. It just
know
kept,
it.
it
There you
go. Got it.
back to me. Sorry. Okay, so we're good. Everyone can see?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So again, this is our December 2021 proposed amendment for our capital plan FY 2020 to 2024. My name is Danielle. So the School Construction Authority's mission is to design and construct safe, attractive, and environmentally sound public schools for our children throughout the many communities of New York City. We're dedicated to building and modernizing schools in a responsible, cost-effective manner while achieving a high standards of excellence in safety, quality, and integrity. So tonight's meeting, we will have an overview of the FY 2020 to 24 capital plan proposed amendment, and at the end we'll have a section for all input and comments, concerns, and questions. Okay, so we're going to start with looking at the overall capital plan amendment for all 5 boroughs throughout the city, and then we will dive into district specific for District 25. So here what we're seeing is for overall for all 5 boroughs, our capital plan budget moving forward is $20.6 billion. That's broken up into 3 different buckets, if you will, 3 different categories that we have. One category being capacity, the increase of seats and bringing new seats online. The budget moving forward for that is $9.84 billion. Another component of that budget is for our capital investments, CIP projects, you sometimes hear them referred to as, and that is $7.26 billion. The last category is $3.51 billion for our mandated programs. I know we have some new CEC members, and I'm just going to take a second and some perhaps new parents in the audience. So I just wanted to explain what the 3 of these mean. So capacity is any kind of new seats that we bring online, whether it be a new addition, a new building at a new site, a new lease space, or renewal of a lease space to also create seats. The capital investment, you'll hear this referred to throughout the presentation as CIP projects. They are projects that we use to keep our buildings safe and sound and watertight. So anything from new roofs or roof replacements, window replacements, masonry work, boiler replacement projects, and then things also like bathroom upgrades and new flooring and new PA system, new fire alarm systems. Those are all incorporated into that capital investment. Mandated programs we would refer to as, for example, when we have like a local law that we're doing, such as replacing exit signs, or when we did the light replacement project across the boroughs. Right now, you'll see a lot of boiler replacement projects going on, especially within District 25. Those are just some of the mandated programs that would fall into that category. Some of our SCA highlights in our $20.6 billion budget. We have $8.44 billion for the creation of over 60,000 new seats in fulfillment of the mayor's commitment to reduce overcrowding as well as advance equity. We have $1.41 billion in support of early learn, 3K and pre-K for all initiatives. $750 million is budgeted to make 50% of our elementary school buildings partially or fully accessible, and a third of all buildings fully accessible. $261 million for electrical work to support our air conditioning in all classrooms. Believe we've achieved that. There's minor punch list left on some projects. So those spaces, the educational classroom spaces, have been provided with the electric they need to support the window units. We have $1.01 billion for technology enhancements and $352 million to allow for the TCU removals. In our capacity project category of $9.84 billion, bringing on 45,883 seats, it will cost, was set for $6.34 billion. Replacement program, replacement program would be defined as we need to find a new lease site to replace a current lease or something of that direct correlation for 7,080 seats at a price tag of $1.06 billion. Class size reduction, 4,750 seats at $740 million. Capacity to remove the TCUs for 2,220 seats at $302 million. And early education, 3K pre-K initiative early learn at $1.41 billion. We have our section for our new schools here, and we are diving into district specific for District 25 now. So all the information that we see on the next few pages, next few slides, will be just for your district, your geographic district. So we have here 2 projects which we have cited and are underway. First one is PS 169's addition, bringing on 627 new seats. We have an anticipated occupancy for doors to open September 2024. PS 32, also slotted for September 2024 opening for a seat count of 346 additional seats. That will, in total, those 2 cited projects will provide 973 new seats coming online.
And now, can I ask you a question, not to interrupt you?
I'm sorry?
Can I just ask one clarification, not to interrupt you? On the 169 project, is it also Bell Academy? Isn't it also the middle school? Is it co-located
Yes,
school?
so it's correct, you're right. It's building 169. I guess we keep referring to it as the building code for PS, but it's both for PS 169 and Bell Academy.
So the total of 627 is for both schools, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So even though we know that we have 973 seats coming online within your district, but we know our work is not done in your district. We still have funded, but not yet cited, a need of 2,367 seats within District 25. So as always, year after year I come and we encourage, and we get a lot of feedback actually from this district of sites, potential sites that our community may see before our real estate department gets wind of. Please rest assured we do have an entire department that is focused purely on ascertaining new real estate for the needs of our students and the need of seats in our districts. But so we know that our community members may have knowledge before something hits the market, or catch wind of something before it really goes public, or a rumor that's going around the neighborhood. please feel free to send it over to us, and I will put that in the chat. The email address for that as well is sites@nycsca.org.
Danielle, can I interrupt you one more time? I'm sorry.
No problem.
I know the community's been discussing a Water's Edge project that we had attended the community
Yes.
board meetings, and my understanding is that the city council had already voted on that. Is that a project that's in the works, or that's still in development?
Well, Joe, I'm glad you asked me that. So here we have new school. City council did go to vote last month, and they did vote to move the project forward. So we will be finalizing our negotiations on the acquisition of that site, and that site will be providing 572 new seats. So I did just put in, we don't have concrete plans yet, as you know, but I just wanted to put in what the site currently looks like. So if people are driving on past it, they can recognize it and get excited about it.
Danielle, this is Rashmi. Before you move forward, can you go up again where you have the cited, non-cited? I just want to ask a quick question here. So on the top, and it says the 627 plus 346, it's the 973, but and then the bottom, it says non-cited. So the 451 plus 863 will be in addition to 973?
Yes, ma'am.
Once it gets funded or cited? And
So it's funded. We just don't have a physical site for it thus far.
Wow, so you got funded for 973 plus 451 and 865.
Correct.
So
All those
that
seats that are
fund-
in need are funded.
Okay, so
Currently.
I want to understand this. With a lot going on right now, that funding for 451 and 865 is just sitting in limbo because you don't have a site. Why can't you guys allocate that funding towards a better need for students right now and then take it out of reserve later when you get site? What if for next 2 years you don't get a site, or even for 1 year, but kids need something right now? I mean, kids are really needing something right now, but I don't understand how we are even thinking about putting funding to something that is not even has a location yet. I don't get it. I'm not understanding.
Well,
that.
before we would start to look for a site, we would need to have the funding to do so. So first thing we always do is secure the funding in order to create a project. And I understand, and I'm sympathetic that there are, I also have 3 kids in public schools in Queens, and I'm in District 24. I've been there with the capacity needs growing up myself. And I understand that it's, critical to have both. We want it all for our kids, and SCA wants to be able to provide it all. But we have to, before we can move forward in acquiring a site, we have to have the money to do so. So that's why we, in the beginning of the plan, I had explained how we break up our budget into 3 different categories. So we have to have the funding on reserve in order to do that when it comes. So I hope that helped to explain why we don't push the money around back into capacity investments, but we do have a separate funding that is specifically allocated for those types of projects, for capacity investments in the buildings that do exist already.
Okay.
Okay. So for PS 32, we just, again, in the slide previous to this, we had indicated that it has a 2024 opening, just a site plan here, layout. And PS 169 is in full-blown construction. Those are some progress photos of what's going on at the site currently. Our pre-K and 3K initiative. The capital plan recognizes the commitment and desire to implement a universal early childhood education program for our 3- and 4-year-old children. Some of our upcoming district early childhood projects we have one that is cited, and the location is at 1445 143rd Street. That will be creating 105 seats for a pre-K center. And our anticipated occupancy is for this September 2022. We also are still actively searching for 3 additional sites within District 25, a 3K center. I'm sorry, we don't have the address. I apologize. We have the location. I don't have the exact address. It's in the 131st Street area for 165 seats, also for 2022. Casino Boulevard, 105 seats, 2022 opening. And near Francis Lewis Boulevard, 105 seats at opening for 2023. Here is a aerial shot of the location, 143rd Street, next to Holy Trinity Church. Okay, so this section will look at our FY 2020 to 2024 capital investment projects, or CIP projects. The SCA performs major capital improvement work in our existing buildings, in addition to building our new schools. The work includes projects such as masonry repair, window and roof replacement, new boilers, HVAC systems, new fire alarm systems, public address or PA systems, electrical upgrades, repairing to major plumbing issues, removal of TCUs, transportable classroom units, and playground rehabilitation and development. The Department of Education Division for School Facilities, thank you, Mr. Leroy, for joining us, which include our custodial engineers, our plant managers, our facility directors, and our DSF central staff, is responsible for our day-to-day maintenance and repair of our school buildings. Both the SCA and DSF, our agencies are separate, but we work closely together to maintain the New York City schools. So just to look at how something becomes a capital project in the SCA's 5-year capital plan. So in addition to the suggestions that we received from our Community Education Council, there are several routes. The first one I'd like to go over and address is our Buildings Condition Assessment Survey, our BCAS report. So every single year, the SCA will assess every single school in all 5 boroughs in a building condition assessment survey. The BCAS reports for every school building are available on the DOE's website on each school's individual page. My supervisor, my Director of External Affairs, Mr. Zishan Ott, has also joined us. He has already taken the liberty to put that link in the message board in the chat. So that is a very good tool to use. It does have a lot of information. When you click on the link, it will give you a list starting with Brooklyn schools, with the K schools. Scroll on down to the Q schools for Queens, and you'll be able to see your particular school you'd like to look up. Problems reported to the DOE Division for School Facilities and Emergency Issues. Normally, our first line of defense is DSF, is our custodial engineers and the staff that is in the building day to day. If DSF determines if a needed repair is very large, complex, costly, it can be referred to the SCA for an assessment. In the event of an emergency, DSF will let us know this is an emergency condition, and SCA may also do immediate make-safe repairs. Funding from elected officials, our local New York City council member, our borough president, and also our state elected officials can also fund projects. Citywide initiatives, both mayoral and city council initiatives, such as the Physical Education for All or the air conditioning program, will help to make something become a capital project. I guess actually before we jump into that, sorry, tease you a little. So how do we know if something is DSF or if it's an SCA problem or something that we can help with? So to me, the best line of course of action, and Mr. Leroy, please correct me if you have anything to add or if I'm saying misspeaking or misinforming, but the relationship between our principals and our custodians and our CECs and our PTA members with our custodial engineers is really critical. If a principal has something that is broken, they have to bring it, please bring it to the attention of the custodian. Perhaps they can take a look at it and they are able to fix it, or they will go to their deputy director for assistance. They would be able to determine if that's something that their custodial staff can handle, if it's within their capabilities. If not, they will definitely advise to the principal, this is something that is too large for DSF. Please, reach out to CEC, and this is a good candidate for a priority for the request list over to the SCA. If the custodian, between the custodians and the custodial staff and DSF and SCA, we have to get it done for our schools. We want to get it done for the schools.
Danielle, can we back up on the BCAS reports?
Yes.
Does SCA look inside, can you explain what the ratings are, like how they?
Yes, Joe.
And then
Sure.
what SCA looks at in terms of priority, if it's low priority or high priority?
Sure, no problem. So when you go to the school that you're looking up, you'll see that each school is broken down into 3 separate reporting categories: an architectural, a structural, architectural, mechanical, and electrical categories. So within those 3 components, every aspect of the school is addressed, handled: staircases, floor tiles, wall tiles, windows, etc. So when you look at a particular section, you will notice that they're given a rating, and the rating numbers go from 5 to 1. 5 is the worst. That means that it's completely unfair conditions, poor conditions. 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 being not bad at all, good condition. SCA, every year, we try to address all the 5s. We want to get to everything that is in the poorest condition. That's how we go. That's how we prioritize across the 5 boroughs. Some years we get to the 4s. So these priority request lists that each CEC submits to us is very helpful in not just determining what our architects and our engineers have determined to be in poor condition, but also what the district is aligning with as the highest needs in the district. So 5 is the worst. And I'm sorry, Joe.
I'm sorry, it was Bill Leroy, Danielle.
Oh, sorry.
And to Danielle's point, there are issues that come up that the SCA refers to DSF to correct. So after they complete their BCAS report, we may get 2 or 3 issues in that particular building that we should address. They feel we should address. So, the communication between the SCA and DSF is there.
It is.
Would that show up on the report? Would we see that? If there is any communication between
that I don't know. Would they see that, Danielle?
So I do not believe that would be indicated on the report. I definitely, I'm trying to think of like the ones I looked at today. Did not see them on there that it would be referred. It just indicates what the assessment was and the determination on the specific functionality of the school component at that time of the inspection. But while you're doing your priority lists, I know that some were sent over today, and running through them, I could see some that were, we could definitely have either an offline conversation tomorrow about some of the schools that were sent over for me for review. Some I thought maybe would be best looked at first by DSF before submitting as an SCA project. I don't know how large of some of the repairs are, just looking at the request list. But we can do that.
The public understands SF means school facilities, correct?
DSF is Division of School Facilities.
Right, and my point was that the SCA will complete their evaluation, and if they feel there are things that can be completed in-house by DSF, they refer that to us. So we address that. The larger projects obviously stay with the SCA.
So I have a question. So when the project gets between the SCA and DSF? What if the SCA has perhaps, and again, I'm ignorant on this, SCA perhaps a bigger capital, right, than the DSF?
Correct.
So what if a school is not able to I guess fund it, or their custodian, I mean, that part is not able to fund that. So are those created as an exception if the school is in need, but it's not able to fund, but it does not come under SCA? But what happens to those requests? Because I did see in a couple of the schools, looks like it may not be SCA, but what if those schools do not have the funding?
Well, I think the Division of School Facilities is basic repairs. If it's a larger project, a capital project, it's referred by the Division of School Facilities to the SCA, and then they incorporate that into their capital plan. I hope that answers your question.
I guess in parts it does. I don't know if Joe would want, I mean, Joe, are we going over the list this?
So, yeah, what we're asked to do as the CEC is to give our recommendations by this coming Friday to SCA for our top 5 requested capital improvements. So that would be specifically directed towards SCA, not DSF.
Correct.
So that's why I wanted Danielle to be here to explain that to the CEC, and I wanted Mr. Leroy also to be here so we can, some issues that may appear to be school construction issues are actually facility issues. So that's the purpose why we're here. And, I'm gonna let Danielle finish, and if Mr. Leroy wants to speak, and then we'll go through the list, Rushmi, and we'll discuss the schools. And if anybody has any questions on the list, we can, if Danielle doesn't mind, or Mr. Leroy, we can ask them at that time. But yeah, that's the purpose why we're here this evening, just to provide our 5 priorities to SCA.
Okay. For District 25, picking up, for our capital investment and mandated projects, we have a total of 57 projects totaling over $102 million. Some of which included, like 13 electrical systems upgrades, at 3.4 million, 3 projects totaling 11.5 million dollars for exterior masonry, flood elimination projects at almost 5 million, parapet project, also 2 of those at 4.1 million dollars. My old eyes tonight, I apologize. Seeing a couple of numbers at once. 4 roof replacements at almost $12.4 million. Some of our recently completed capital improvement program projects that we done in District 25, over at I-193 had TCU removal and then playground redevelopment. Looks good, right, Danielle? Hurricane Ida. So we had an unexpected storm that came, and we had some significant emergency repairs to help do in the schools. John Bow High School had severe flooding within their gym wooden floor. It all buckled up. Lots of their tiles had lifted up. And we were able to quite expeditiously repair the flooring in both areas and get the schools back online.
Wait, Danielle, can I just say that? So what you were just talking about is an example between facilities and SCA, right? And I know that was something that the member had asked. So if we needed an emergency situation and you had to rip up floors very quickly and get, that was more than just repair. That was more of a project caused by a flood. That went to SCA.
Correct. This was a true partnership, or an example of a partnership about the seamlessness between DSF and SCA. Wood floor is a huge undertaking right at the beginning of school, and so is this enormous space of tile. So SCA came in and we were able to make those emergency repairs.
So I just wanted to clarify or just get clarification on something else. Does facilities need to be funded, or if the project needs to be funded, then that goes to SCA? Is that my understanding?
I think Mr. Leroy could probably speak best as to how DSF is budgeted more than funded, right?
Right, so if it's a my understanding is the bigger projects go to SCA. the ones
That is correct.
So,
So-
okay.
There's a price tag, right, Bill?
Correct.
So
I think it's generally in the $25,000 range. Am I right there, Danielle?
I think it sounds familiar. I thought it was more of a cap of 50,000, but let's call it a range. And so when it hits that magic number, we know that it's then not within the capability of our custodial staff at the site, and it would need to be referred over to SCA for our actions.
So Joe, I guess an example would be at Q163, we recently observed a water penetration in the basement, which we know is a foundation issue, which is beyond the scope of something that the Division of School Facilities would be able to correct. So that is immediately referred over to the SCA, who puts it on their radar for, you know, an immediate or future project as quickly as they can get it into their budget. So, you know, I think that's a good example of something that's out of our scope, that we refer to the SCA and then they address as quickly as they can.
Sure.
Yeah. And
And
just
but then Bill, if you talk about the, you know, on the flip side, 193,
Mhm.
one of the issues that we thought was a foundation issue was actually a pipe issue that we were able to repair.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the difference of the conversations that happen between SCA and DSF around what
Exactly.
actually is the need
Yes.
of the building and that partnership around making a decision, does it need to be repaired or like a foundation work is something SCA would take on if it was, you know, they would add it to their list. But a
Correct.
pipe, the pipe issue is something that DSF was able to repair.
Yes.
Right. We discovered that the water penetration into the building was actually a pipe leaking behind a foundation wall in the basement. DSF was able to open up the wall, repair the pipe, and you know, it was at a minimal cost as opposed to a capital project, which would have been referred to Danielle and the SCA.
Mhm.
So just that the CEC members understand, the discussions that go on between school facilities and SCA is separate and apart from the recommendations that the CEC makes to SCA, correct?
I believe
Correct.
CEC makes recommendations to the SCA on a
But
capital
the
level.
SCA does not have to accept them. They're just recommendations that we're asking for. But if facilities puts in a request unbeknownst to CEC, how do we know as a community whether or not that project is going to be addressed?
I think it's coordinated between the two agencies, and you know,
Are they reported on the report? Are they reported anywhere for the community to know?
I don't have an answer to that, Joe, to
You
be
know,
honest.
Danielle? Right.
Mhm.
But,
So when they become an SCA project, they do become public record. They do get an LLW number, they do get bid. You know, there's a whole process that goes along with that. Notification to the school, we have meetings with the principals, we design the projects, etc. And then it would be also listed in our capital plan book I believe you have access to that also, Joe. It's,
Okay.
I believe,
So if there's a concern that comes from a school, the school would already know whether or not the project is being taken care of by SCA, correct?
when it becomes a project for the SCA, yes, we reach out to the school principal and the custodian. That's our process. We alert them to the fact that we're going to start scoping out a project that was, you know, that we have on our docket here for repairs. and they will sit in on meetings with us. We will design the project. We will keep the principal and custodian in those design meetings. We have, certain percentage designs that we review with them. And then it goes to start to become a, active construction. Again, they're engaged as well as the UFT.
Understood, thank you.
Yes. I just wanted, Joe and Danielle have done a great job with examples, and Mr. Leroy, of SCA and DSF and what projects fall where. But if we could look at it just kind of maybe more in like a little bit more layman's terms, like if you have a roof that has a small leak, that it would be for sure our custodians would, check it out, assess it, confer with their deputy director and see what they can do to make that repair, if it's a patch or a small area. If a whole roof needs to be replaced, then for sure you're looking at a DSF project. I'm sorry, an SCA project. Same thing like with a window. A window's jammed, it needs to be fixed. Maybe, some tweaking by our custodial staff will help. If every single window in the building is not operating, not functioning, not opening, sliding down, they need a full window replacement, then that would be an SCA project. Bathrooms, things of that nature too. If it's more of like an aesthetic one-to-one tile replacement, switch out just a toilet bowl, we have a broken faucet somewhere, that would be our DSF colleagues. If an entire bathroom needs a complete gut rehab, not just the tiles, not just the pretty stuff, rip it all out, put all new plumbing in, put up all new tiles, new partitions, then you safe to say that would be an SCA project. So smaller scale, smaller repairs would be at DSF, but like full replacements would be SCA. So I'm sorry, District 25, we also have a section here. We talked about another way a project could become an SCA project is through funding from our elected officials. And Queens and in District 25 specifically, we have very generous elected officials who love to help our schools. District 25 Reso A projects, we had over 300 Reso A projects totaling $35.6 million to date. So that is no small feat of Reso A projects there. You see here, we have a whopping 256 technology grants totaling close to $20 million for the district. Auditoriums, electrical upgrades, playgrounds, science labs, and libraries. Here we see a couple of photos of our technology upgrades. They include our smart boards that are in our schools. It could also be laptops falling under technology upgrades. SCA is very proud. We have an amazing MWLB program. We are dedicated to increasing the participation of minority-owned, women-owned, and locally based business enterprises, MWLBs, on SCA projects, including through MWLB targets on our projects. We also run a mentor program, which provides key success support and access to capital and business opportunities for qualified emerging MWLBs. Within District 25, our MWLB participation and mentor program, in fiscal year 21, citywide, SCA awarded $558 million in prime MWLB contracts across 409 projects to 128 firms. In this district, SCA has over $95 million in active MWLB contracts across 38 projects to 29 firms this fiscal year. In FY21, the SCA Mentor Program awarded $81.8 million in MWLBE contracts across 249 projects and 93 firms. CEC request forms. We know that our CECs have a voice in requesting capital projects as well. Each year, our CECs are asked to fill out the form indicating the priority projects in schools for your districts. We ask you prioritize your top 5 as they'll be reviewed first, but please feel free to list as many as you feel are critical for your district. Remember that the SCA does major capital renovations only. Please consider whether the projects you are prioritizing are capital eligible. Everyday repairs in schools, principals should and can request repairs from their custodians and DSF. Capital projects with a permanent enhancement and a lifespan of at least 5 years at a minimum cost of $50,000 for our capital projects. Our comment form, I know Joe had already mentioned that our deadline for submissions is January 14th, which is quickly approaching. And we are here to, continue to have conversations this week about the schools or the projects that you are prioritizing and the list that you have been put forth from your principals. My contact information. So as you know, Ben Goodman is your official District 25 SCA representative. He was unavailable this evening. So I was so happy to come back to District 25 and do the presentation this evening. I'm available this week and next week while Ben is out. I put all my information in your chat already. Joe, Danielle, I believe you guys have me all saved up in your information, in your contact info. So please don't hesitate to reach out. At this time, Joe, we can bring it back for questions or whatever you'd like to discuss now.
Thank you, Danielle. So does that mean like after this evening, you're not going to be working with District 25 anymore? When Ben
Queens is large, Joe.
I know.
Queens is so big.
We like you, and we like.
I love District 25. How can I not love working with Danielle? I mean, we have the same name, for goodness sakes, No, Queens is really large. So what we did was we kind of split it geographically within the agency. Ben Goodman typically is handling Queens North right now, which is 25, 26, and 30. And I'm in 24, 27, 28, and 29. But I can add that Ben and I speak multiple times a day. We talk to each other. District 25 was my baby for many years. So I like to know what's still going on over here. So you can feel free to reach out to me, Ben, and we'll definitely, between the two of us, be able to help you with whatever questions you have.
We certainly thank you. And yes, we dealt with Ben Goodman, and he seems like a pleasant
He is. He's
person to deal with as
amazing.
well.
He's
And
so
we're very
knowledgeable.
grateful. We're also grateful for Mr. Leroy, who's here, because it kind of sets us as a CEC straight as to what projects go where. And that's kind of why we had requested that you both be present this evening. So we thank you. Before, I don't know if Mr. Leroy wants to talk or, present, we did ask the schools to provide us with their requested capital projects. And we do have a list, and the schools have been submitting through this evening. And I kind of know what is a priority in that, but I want the other CEC members to understand that. But if it's just, there are some requests for like air conditioners. I just wanted clarification, because I know there was every school, every classroom is getting an air conditioner, but that does not apply to auditoriums or gymnasiums or cafeterias, correct? So any type of request of that sort is useless.
So
No,
I never say
definitely.
never say useless or never, right? Things happen.
Right.
No, I mean, Joe, again, we talked about this last month in the pre-meeting. There are multiple ways to put these projects through. There's market maker projects where the school funds them. If the school doesn't have the funding, they can apply for the RES-OA projects. At some point, I mean, the mayor's initiative is for, it's currently for instructional space. At some point, maybe it'll be expanded to auditoriums. I don't know, I can't say, but if the school has the funding to put in a market maker project to put air conditioning in auditoriums, that's one way to go. The other way is the RES-OA.
Mhm.
Understood. I mean, of course, I didn't mean it's off the table for the school, but I'm just saying SCA or facilities is not going to
I don't think
readily
that's an
be able to
SCA
handle it
project.
as of today, right?
Correct, Joe. So
Correct.
all across the board, we pretty much have wrapped up all the electrical upgrade projects that were for the instructional spaces. And when I say instructional spaces, I want you to know that we took our lead from what the Department of Education defines as an instructional space. And to us, that was defined as classroom spaces. It was limited to regular classroom spaces, including cluster classrooms like, science, art class, music classes, etc. It did not include offices. It did not include gymnasiums, cafeterias, libraries, and auditoriums. So I believe some of maybe perhaps the requests I saw on the list was for a gymnasium, and I understand that would have a kind of a big price tag with it because it's a very large space. So that could be something the school could try to also receive, perhaps Reso A, like Mr. Leroy has just stated, Reso A funding to help catapult that a little quicker than perhaps a capital project.
Understood. And the same would apply with
Joe.
school security cameras, the same thing. We've been down this road before.
So
with school security cameras.
yeah, so security cameras, I looked specifically at all the ones you sent, and I can confirm that none of them are currently having an active security project assigned to them, surveillance project, IPTVS assigned to that school yet. So we are rolling out a lot, but as you know, that the priority of the surveillance systems or the IPDVS goes direct correlation to the number of incidents that occur at school. So SCA is plugging away at IPDVS, but we are going by which schools, for lack of a better way to put it, need it the most due to their incident report numbers.
Understood. So I just want to get a grasp of what we're looking at, and that the CEC members understand what we're looking at when we go through the schools here. There was one that took me by surprise, something, I forgot which school it was, but it's on the list here. It deals with the electrical system and I think fire alarm. I think it's the pre-K center. You know about that?
Well, you're probably referring to 409.
Let me just check.
That is correct for
And I sent you an
Cricket
updated
Center
list.
and Whitestone.
Yeah, correct.
Sure. The 409 is a 3K expansion project that's underway. We have heard the
It's my
concern.
understanding there's no fire alarm system there, or shouldn't there be one?
So we've heard the concern, and they're looking into addressing the issue.
So would that be something that we would need to address in our request, or that's already taken into consideration?
That's already being addressed.
Okay, so we'll have to understand that.
Yeah, and then the CEC can feel free to follow up with Ben and myself for an update on that particular site.
Okay, so I don't know if any other CEC members have any questions. I want to allow them to speak if they do.
Hey, Joe, I just wanted to
Is that Rushing?
ask a question following your
Is
question.
that Rushing?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So you had mentioned that I was looking at the consolidated SCA report that's put out to all the members. So are you talking about, there was one school that has the surveillance camera that does not have a surveillance camera. Then from what Danielle is saying, that it directly correlates to the number of incidents. So it's not done proactively. If a school does not have a surveillance camera and it wants to have one for the security and safety of the school, it will get denied because there has been no incidents. Is that what I'm hearing, or maybe I'm wrong?
So I guess it's not 100% because we have to prioritize where we're putting our IPTVSs in, and we do work with DOE's department to identify the schools of higher priority. But there are schools that we have and are working to put IP DVS systems in, and they are also ascertaining Reso A funding to do so.
Okay, so at this point, any school who asks for a surveillance camera is put into that category, and then the prioritization happens from that point onwards. Is that what you were saying?
So yeah, so if the school were to be put on the CEC list and it's up for review, they would look at the factors behind, justification of the IPDVS over other school selections. But the school can also branch out and ascertain the funding to do it via Reso A grant.
Okay. Okay, I have another question. A member just, a public member just asked me to ask this question. Would projects to make schools fully accessible be considered? Some schools are already partially accessible and probably could be easily enhanced to a fully accessible.
So we have a budget put aside to do exactly that. We're trying to make 50% of our elementary schools fully or partially accessible. We're working to that. It's very costly and very difficult to make a school fully accessible. Our older ones especially, they have more narrow, every door frame, door jamb is more narrow. Bathrooms have to be upgraded to have an ADA accessible partition. Gymnasium stages need lifts. You need lifts to get into and up main entrance stairs. So we are working, we have that initiative to work forward to get 50% of our buildings partially or fully accessible.
Okay. So I'm asked again, I'm sorry. Is that put into a higher priority? Because we are talking about kids who are unfortunately directly impacted by this, apart from a window enhancement or change of window or air conditioning in the gym. Schools not even being partially or fully to an extent is actually directly impacting those students, those children.
So I have to say that you stumped me on this question. I can't give you a perfect answer because I don't, just being honest, I don't know what the exact priority or percentage is of that. I can happily look at getting you a good answer and to.
Yeah, Danielle, I can speak to that if you don't mind. So Rashmi, a few years ago, school safety and the citywide borough safety support came to the district, and they talked about that there is an initiative to put cameras in all schools. And the way that it was decided had to do with incident reports. So I can speak for over the past few years, we have seen the installation of these cameras across multiple schools. Mm-hmm. So it's my understanding that eventually they will get to all of our schools. I know that some schools have been asking for them, mm-hmm. But there is, so what Danielle was saying is she checked the list of schools that put them, that made that recommendation, and they may not be on the list right now, but that does not mean that other schools in our district are not on the list to get them. So it is something that is happening gradually, and I don't know the exact end date of the project, but it is something that they are doing across the city and across our district. So the ones that we're looking at, I would not say, and that is something that the CEC could decide if you wanted to request to bump up a school, but I don't know if the ones that we're warranting would be something like that, because we don't have incident rates for those schools that would be considered something to bump, but that's up to you guys to ask that. But I don't believe that would be through Danielle. That would be through the DOE.
And it's also, Rashmi, understand, it's not something that probably SCA would address, but it's something that we can request from our elected officials, or as per RESOA resolution on that, or maybe the school budgeting, but it doesn't mean that it won't be addressed. And we as a CEC, if we want to try to reach out to our elected officials, and I know that the council members have always put that out with their requests. So the community needs to speak up. I found the discussion regarding accessibility interesting because I haven't seen that in many of the requests from the schools. So I'd like to know what schools need work with accessibility.
Mhm. So just Joe, if I may just add, Mr. Ott was able to add also into the chat comments regarding accessibility. SCA is prioritizing based on the geographical and borough need, and the planning is done through the accessibility subcommittee, which is chaired by the Department of Education Space Planning. All of our new constructions, just to point out, is 100% fully accessible. So all new SCA buildings, when we design them, they're built for 100% accessibility.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just for me as a parent, it's just mind-boggling to me. Like somebody at the central level should be looking at this more deeply than anything else, because we can't just put it for new construction. Our schools, majority of the schools do not have new construction, or their 50% is not new construction. So we have these meetings, SCA meetings every year. And then last year we had it, the year before we had it. And I have not yet seen somebody from higher up saying, you know what, the first thing we have to do is do something that can directly impact our children, and especially those children who need extra help and care. And years after years, we talk about this seat, that seat, this thing, and then I'm just really, really bothered by the fact that the course of what is happening to our children, we are still not thinking. I mean, I'm not saying we as you guys, I'm thinking somebody higher up who's trying to understand that all these 35 million, 135 million, and not one line is there to make it for directly impacting those children who's actually need extra help.
Right.
So just as a parent, it's just bothering me. So I have to say it out loud.
No, I thank you. We love to hear this kind of feedback, and just wanted to clarify that it's not only our new construction that we are having the design or the foresight to put fully accessibility or have ADA accessible components in. For example, if we redo an auditorium, if that's part of, if we are going to go into a school and do an auditorium upgrade and touch the stage automatically, we're going to be putting in a stage lift. We are going to make the auditorium accessible. We're going to have accessible seating in the auditorium. We do have, and just to point back out to slide number 6 that we've shared on the presentation with the CEC as well, we have 750 million that is set aside to make 50% of the elementary school buildings partially or fully accessible, and a third of all buildings fully accessible. So we do have funding. We do have the insight that this need is real, and we have an action plan we are continuing to make it happen within the school buildings. It is a hard thing to make a building fully accessible. I've been through a few of them, and my first time going at it, I really was astonished to see just how many components went into it. But we are working through them. And if we're redoing a whole entire bathroom, that we're not just doing a one-to-one replacement in the stalls or a cosmetic upgrade, then those bathrooms are becoming fully accessible. And it's not just the inside of the bathroom that's becoming accessible. It is the door frame, of course, leading into the bathroom, which then gets into a little bit of invasive construction in the hallway, etc. And it's a process. It's a rolling process, as is our whole capital plan. It evolves every year. We reevaluate every year, and we come up with new projects all the time.
Yeah, so Rashmi, I'm wondering if you could ask that parent to call the district office, because as Danielle saying, there's a lot of schools that I do see accessibility happening as they're building. I know we were just looking at PS 79. our new, like she said, our new construction, but I even remember going back, over 20 years ago, 499, IS 25. They just finished repairing the elevator in 237. So there's a lot of accessibility projects that are part of the overall projects that they're considering when they're doing work in District 25. I mean, I'm really pleased to see that over the past, 5 years, because we've been such an overcrowded district, SCA is paying a lot of attention to District 25, which is why I know Danielle so well and we work so well together. And I can assure you that as they're doing those projects, accessibility is absolutely taken into consideration, right? I'm thinking about, I'm not saying from my laziness, but my, out of shapeness, there's a lot of schools that I go to that have accessible elevators and, Danielle is correct, as they're doing things like bathrooms and they do take into consideration to fix those schools. So I'm just wondering who that parent would be and that we can engage in a conversation. They can feel free to call my office around.
I mean, it's definitely a real priority for the SCA. I mentioned I have a couple of kids and, we had a spelling bee and ironically enough, it was in District 25 and she had just broke her ankle and, she's a 7th grader. She's as big as I am. It was really difficult, carrying her up the stairs to get into the auditorium. And then she couldn't even go on the stage with everybody else because of this broken ankle. And she was like sticking out like a sore thumb, which made it a little hard, I guess, for her spelling bee. But so we really, on a personal level as a parent, I'm very invested in helping to make sure that, as much as can be done with our projects are in a timely fashion and to get the information from our CECs back to the CECs. So that we all are on the same page with what the priorities are, both for SCA and within the community.
Absolutely, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from any of our fellow CEC members? I just have one other one because I've kind of been on the CEC for quite a few years, and I've gone through some of the schools, and we've been through this before. So I've been to IS 25 a number of times, and I know there's an issue with in the gymnasium, the ceiling, the tiles, they're like falling. I don't know if that's a facilities issue. I think my understanding is the whole ceiling has to be replaced. Is that?
I can speak on that, actually.
And yes, Catherine Pappas, who's one of our students' representatives, she goes to WJPS, so she can speak about that also and let us know about your concerns.
Yeah, hi Danielle. Earlier last week, I was in the gym and we share a gym with IS 25. I go to World Journalism School.
Okay.
And a tile actually fell really close to my friends and a group of other kids playing basketball. So I think that's a major issue. They fall all the time, but that was the first time I saw a tile fall, and it's really dangerous. It's heavy. It could definitely hurt someone. So a major concern I would take into consideration and categorize as a 5. It's definitely a safety issue, and with multiple schools sharing that gymnasium, it concerns lots of students, lots of staff. Yeah.
Okay, so
Danielle, I'll take that.
okay.
So yes, we were alerted to that a couple of months ago. It was referred to the SCA to evaluate the gym to determine what the best course of action would be. And you're correct. The ceiling tiles, if they get hit with the basketballs or volleyballs, they become loose. Mm-hmm. So the SCA has actually evaluated it, and we're just waiting now for their determination on best course of action, whether it's netting, replace the ceiling with something different. But I think it's worth noting that IS 25 was a junior high school, that a high school was put into afterwards. And you know, the ceiling was originally designed as a junior high school. So I don't think the junior high school would have had the same impact on the ceiling as the high school does. So, but anyway, the SCA has investigated it, Danielle, I'm sure if you're aware, and we're just waiting for their determination for the best course of action. So it should be coming. It should be coming soon.
So that, the question that I had was whether it was a capital improvement or something that needed repair, right? Because if the tiles could be repaired individually,
yeah.
then I'm thinking the whole thing needs to be replaced.
Correct. It was determined that it was referred to the SCA on what we call a red dot, which is an urgent project.
Mm-hmm.
So it was looked into quickly by the SCA, and now they have engineers and architects looking at it, and we should hear soon again about the best course of action.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't want to cut you off, Mr. Leroy. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to the community? Because I jumped right into the schools of the questions.
No, as Danielle said, you know, District 25 is very close to my heart. I attended 107, IS 25, and Francis Lewis High School. So I've been through the, you know, I grew up in the district, and it's close to my heart, and anything I can do to help, I will.
Always appreciated that you join us and always willing to discuss and meet with us. So thank you as well. So
My pleasure.
If I'm not sure if anyone else has questions for either Danielle or Mr. William Leroy. Morris, I see you someplace. How are you, Morris?
He's not.
So Morris Allman, former president of CEC, is asking, should IX 25 gym be closed?
The gym?
Yeah, I just asked that because it's concerning. Is someone going to get hurt or worse?
You know, we've consulted with the principals. We've asked them to ask their gym teachers to, you know, be present during activities and to try and limit, you know, any excessive, you know, kicking of the balls up to the ceiling. You know, should it be closed? That's
Yeah, well,
you know, it's not my call. That's the principal's decision to make.
So,
well, okay, well, the parents could talk to them about that as well as the students. But it's concerning now. What I wasn't sure about was whether the tiles are falling when a ball is hitting the ceiling or if they're just falling randomly.
No, the ceiling is it's fine. It's just if the balls hit the tiles, they could break tile, and then the tile could fall. But no, it's structurally the ceiling is sound.
Okay, so then it sounds like it's more a matter of what you described to just control the activity.
Hi, if I could just jump right in. So I understand that the gym was not designed specifically for a high school, but a high school is definitely in there. And there are about 400 high school students who use the gym every week, multiple times a day. But limiting activity, they gave students beach balls to play with. They gave them badminton. And you know, that's not really part of the gym curriculum. That's not a proper gym class. And there's teachers and staff are very limited on what they can give their students. And students are also upset, concerned. So I don't know, the gym ceiling, I wouldn't characterize it as fine. It's definitely something that needs to be prominent. I heard something that we were getting a net a couple months ago. I haven't seen it. I'm in the gym 3 times a week. So I think a jump on this would be amazing.
Well, I'm kind of in the same I'm in the same boat as you. I'm waiting to hear again the best course of action. And as soon as I hear, we'll take it to that next level. But, you know, I mean, I've escalated this to my superiors, and until I hear back, you know, what, we can close the gym.
So for now on SCA, if I can just interject, I'd like to flag this for a follow-up, and I can reach out to our superintendent later this week after I have an internal follow-up, and share that information with Danielle and her then to the principals and with Mr. Leroy, and make a different assessment. Of course, if the principals wanted to close the gym, that's completely their discretion. That would then in turn have no, obviously there would be no physical activity then until the ceiling solution was presented and performed. So
Yeah, so I'll be there in the morning, and Bill, I don't know if you want to meet me there in the morning, and we'll meet with the principals and custodians and talk about next steps, and then Danielle, I'll speak with you next week.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I was personally there, I think last year or 2 years ago at the request of the principal, and I believe SCA was there and facilities was there. So I just find it interesting that the problem hasn't been addressed, or we're not close to a resolution. So if you don't mind, I don't know if we can go into the building, but you know, if either superintendent or SCA or Mr. Leroy, if you can let us know at CEC, so this way we know that the community concerns are addressed. And it's, you know, I appreciate your comments.
So
Joe, it was brought,
perspective on it.
it was brought to my attention approximately 2 months ago, and I escalated it. I know it went, you know, it went through all the proper channels, and it's being evaluated now, engineered about, again, the best course of action. I certainly haven't been sitting on it for 2 years.
no, definitely not. And I just wanted to.
It wasn't you, Mr. Leroy.
So I just wanted to add to that conversation. Actually, the work that I think maybe Joe was referring to was work back in 2018 that was brought to our attention, that was assessed, and SCA did perform work on numerous and multiple tiles in junior high school 25's gym. The tiles that were assessed most recently since November until present date were tiles that were not at that point when assessed, were not dislodging, they were not of a concern then when the work was performed 3 years ago. So this is, I don't want to say we sat on anything, because we didn't. We did the work that was needed when it was needed, and now this is new work that needs to be performed, and we will address that as well.
Thank you, Danielle.
Mhm.
Thank you. I have confidence that you will. Thank you. Okay, so unless anyone else has any questions or comments. Nothing in the chat. So I thank you both for joining us this evening. We look forward to working on our recommendations and getting them to SCA by Friday. I think your presentation was very helpful, and we really appreciate your coming and your discussing with us, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Well, thank you for having us and inviting me to present. It was nice to be back with the CEC 25 community.
Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Leroy. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
So moving along with our agenda. So we understand that we have some business to take care of regarding our list priority on the school construction projects. Before we jump into that, I just wanted to see if there's any new business that anyone would like to bring to the meeting. Any CC representatives have any new business to bring?
May I say something?
Yes, Mr. Chat.
I got to know a couple of parents, or meet a couple of parents from 185. They are concerned that there are no SB classes the reason given was because of the pandemic. I think it's very important that we bring it back, try to bring it back at least February, if not definitely in the fall, because the local high schools depends on the SP students to build their high school math and science program. Because the SP students usually take integrated or common core algebra and the living environment in 8th grade. So by the time they get to high school, they can go on to geometry and chemistry. So they end up taking physics junior year and then AP classes. The math situation is also very vital, that they take algebra in 8th grade, so that they can be in AP Calc in their senior year. The superintendent of, I'm sorry, Mr. Mango, I'm almost done. The superintendent of District 26, one of them, wants every kid in calculus while they're in high school. That's like requiring every man to be 5'8" or taller. Joe and Joe will be in trouble because we're both not 5'8". So it's important that we have the SB classes in the middle schools so that these kids will definitely be in AP Calc by the time, or should be in AP Calc by the time they're seniors in high school. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. So I just want to answer to that. I don't know, you were talking about the superintendent of 26 or 25?
26.
Okay.
Not you.
So I know that Ms. Mishar is on the call and you know, but I can actually speak to her vision and mission of the school, which has also been spoken about at, you know, the district level as well as during their SLT. So I want to be clear, it's not that they don't offer advanced Regents classes. In fact, Ms. Bashar has expanded her Regents classes and offers them to more children. So what she does is very similar to high school programming, which I know you will recognize, but we have in District 25, and one of the things that we talked about is that we've been building capacity over the past 4 years in the district, starting in pre-K and kindergarten in our work with Bank Street, which is solely math-based. And then in 5th grade and in 5th through 8th, we participate in our Algebra for All program, and that's across all of our elementary schools. And so what that allows for is it allows for our middle school principals to really look at students' math abilities in 2 ways, right? So every child in District 25 will have access to taking the Regents that are offered in the school that they attend, because we want exactly what you're talking about, right? So allowing more Regents classes by 8th grade allows children to take more advanced classes and college level courses in high school, which has always been the District 25 goal when we began this work. So what schools like 194, 185 have engaged in over the past few years is individualized programming, very similar to high school, where if I am a student who's interested in taking algebra, right, and my algebra skills are not necessarily where they should be, in 6th grade and in 7th grade, what may happen is I'm making that commitment to college and career readiness and high school algebra readiness. And so I may have to take an extra math class to prepare myself for that. Other students that are going to be, are interested in taking the Regents may not have to take those classes, but the curriculum and the teacher knowledge of students and their math abilities is actually allowing more students access to Regents. So it's not, we do have some schools such as PSMS 219, Bell Academy, where all of the students have, you know, are taking the Regents classes, but our larger middle schools do offer students that choice, which, you know, I say to myself, my daughter chose to take, she chose that was her choice. She chose to take the Regents science in 8th grade. She's now taking physics, which I would never have imagined, but that was a choice that she worked towards. And so I think student engagement, student ownership, student autonomy in decisions that they make around accelerated class coursework should not be limited to only one class of students. So what we have done in District 25 is we've expanded those options and we offer supports to allow more students to take it. So it's not that 185 doesn't have SP classes. They offer acceleration for all if people are willing to work for it. So Teresa, I know that you're here. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Okay, thank you for your explanation, but that point may be should be communicated to the parents, because these are parents whose children were in the GNT in PS 79. They went up to 185. I don't think they realized that's what you were talking about, because I asked them if they,
Yeah, I know that Ms. Bashar does talk about that. I don't know if she can unmute herself.
I
She's-
gave her.
Yeah, my phone died, so she's probably trying to text me. I don't.
She's
She-
almost
she-
at- oh, there she is.
Oh, there you
Hi,
go.
can you hear me?
Hi, Teresa.
Hey,
Hi, I'm
Teresa.
so sorry. I was having technical difficulties. Hi, everyone. This is Teresa Mashar. I'm sorry I can't turn on my camera, but we did communicate this with all of our families at the beginning. We do communicate this at our open house. We have been providing this opportunity for about the last 4 years for our children, and we have seen much success. Last year we had 84 children attend specialized high schools and some of them were actually children who were in classes that were not programmed for SP. So these are the things that we had noticed about our children, and we have seen that this acceleration for all has really helped our children be successful. So we have been communicating it. I'm sorry if you feeling right now that it hasn't been out there. We will get on it one more time. We are now presently doing tours for parents, and my parent coordinator has been definitely communicating that with all the parents who have been visiting our school. So we will continue to communicate as much as we can to our local community and for the children who are coming. We have in the past, I should say, go over to 79 and meet with parents, but due to COVID, we haven't been over there to their PTAs, but I will ask the incoming schools to invite us to their next few PTA meetings so that we can express what's going on here at 185.
that's beautiful. I think the issue is that these parents don't really speak English. They're all mostly Chinese parents. So that could be there could be a disconnect because they didn't understand what you're talking about.
Okay, I usually do.
I do.
Translators
I
with me.
understand what's going on. Yeah.
I usually take my translators with me, and we usually have translators at every meeting, but I will make sure that I have them there for our next couple of meetings.
And Mr. Chow, we love that you might be able to translate that to the parents as well and additionally, for the community to know that in District 25, parents that speak Chinese, Spanish can call. We have parent support liaisons that are able to communicate with them in their language. So they just have to call the district office.
Thank you, Principal Bashar. Any other items of new business?
I just have one more comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
Those who are teaching the algebra courses, hopefully they're teachers who are certified by the state to teach 7th to 12th grade math. In other words, they have a proper math license.
Of course, Mr. Chow. Yes, I've been a middle school teacher in IS in District 25. I was a teacher in IS 25, and back to 26 years ago, we were ensuring that all of our licensed teachers are in middle schools have the 6 to 12, 7 to 12 licenses. So absolutely.
That is beautiful. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Is there any other item of new business? Carly, do we have a speaker list? Public speakers? Anybody in the chat? Is there anybody? Okay, so at this time, I'd like to discuss the capital projects that we have received from the schools. And I believe we have to take a vote on it as a CEC, and we can prioritize what our 5 top priorities are, and then we can finalize the recommendations and submit it by this Friday. Right, Carly? So at this time, I'm going to talk, to the CEC members about the list of projects we have here, and hopefully prioritize what we think are the most important. Does anybody want to start? So Carly had given us as a CEC the list of schools with requests. Everyone here should have it remotely and in person.
They didn't send anything.
So the project with IX 25, I believe that's,
But it wasn't sent.
it wasn't submitted, but I think we can follow up separate and apart from the 5 priorities. So just understand the way things work with School Construction Authority. Although this is our request, it does not necessarily mean that they will take them, right? They kind of look at the list and they have their own requirements, but what is a request? A request is a single item of work in a given school building. So each request should be listed in priority order on separate lines. Understand that if there's one school that's asking for an auditorium upgrade and then an electrical upgrade at the same school, those would be considered 2 separate requests. So it doesn't go by school, it goes by the requested item. So the number one person that we know who knows their schools are the principals. So principals from the various schools have submitted requests to us. I think let's take them in the order that we have them here. Okay. I'm looking at
242.
Is that the first one? I have 22 as the first one. Does everybody have the list here?
Mine looks different.
So is that on the screen?
I'm getting it. Give me a second. Yeah.
So the request from Principal Meyer is that they're identifying emergency lighting upgrade and school lighting upgrade, exterior security, entry, canopy lighting, overhead lighting, and masonry repairs for walkways. So there are a number of items. Does anyone have any opinion on PS 22? The question I have, I'm not sure if Principal Meyer is here.
I don't know. Sorry.
Or if anyone knows. What's referred to as the mason repairs on walkways? What is that? You know what that means?
I'm thinking maybe that's cement. I was gonna go there tomorrow too. I was gonna go to 22 and IS 25. I don't know. Is Bill still on? Did he get off?
Is Mr. Leroy still here?
Hold on. No, I think they left.
Yeah, just ask.
So, I think we need to know what the masonry repairs are. You might be right, it might be for the walkway, it might be, a walkway issue, so
You wanna come back to it?
we'll come back to it. Does anyone have any comments on this right now?
Sorry.
Let's move to the next school, and then we'll come back. PS 79, installation of security cameras, both inside and outside of the building. Do we know if there are any, I don't believe there are any incidents. I don't think it's on the radar for SCA. We can request,
I do know that principals in the Vicky Palladino sub-district have a meeting with her tomorrow.
okay,
So I will have the principal address that, but I also know that SCA has been doing some construction on their building, which could have delayed. I'm not sure, where they are on the list, but
at 79?
at 79. So I will look into it further, but like I said, tomorrow they're meeting.
Got it. So Vicky Palladino is our new council member for Northern Queens for District 25. And we would probably ask for a resolution funding to secure the cameras at 79. So it most probably will not be an SCA request unless somebody here feels otherwise. We can come back to it. Does anyone have any comments? Next, we have MS PS 164, playground redevelopment. So they're looking for a safe play for pre-K and kindergarten students. Again, not sure if this falls within the capital improvement project
Also Rizaway.
for SCA. It might be a RESOA project. So let's move on to the next one. We'll come back to all of them unless somebody wants to discuss it. PS 20. Same thing, upgrade to playground equipment, rubber mat removal and refitting power pour and play. And there's an issue with the, is that playground in the indoor interior atrium?
Yeah, so Sana, maybe you want to speak to this a little bit. This PS 20 actually
won awards for architecture when it was built so many years ago, and it does have an indoor play area that is completely inside, that I think the principal's also asking that they either repair or look at for space. It's an entire indoor atrium. I don't know, Sana, do you want to talk about it a little bit? Yeah.
Are you familiar with it, right?
Yeah. So you know what I can say is that unfortunately, even as a parent, even after requesting, because of the pandemic, I've not been able to see it in person. And I know that even the kids there have very limited access to it. So I know that kids in kindergarten and up, they're not really using it. It's only for certain classes. And because I've not seen it in person, I can't really comment on the mission, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I can speak to
Yeah, Sana, I could take you in there. And Joe, I know that you want to talk about IS 25. I could take anybody that wants to go with me. But
I
so for
believe
this,
I've been to PS 20 in the
Yeah.
past, and I've seen the atrium. It's tremendous.
it's a very big
Very
space for a very overcrowded area of our district. I don't know, because I am not an engineer or an architect, if there's anything that can be done, but to maybe ask SCA to look at it to see if there's any kind of modifications that they can make. But what Sana is saying is correct, is that the little kids can't go on the playground because it's not safe for them to be there. And there's always an issue with changing of the light bulbs, because although it was awarded for architecture, they put these and sometimes the kids play in the dark. So if there's no sun, they're playing in the dark. So it was a great idea, when it was created, but now I think it's maybe space that can be reevaluated.
Is that school, is that not the gym?
No,
No,
it's
gym
a-
space or an outdoor, do they have an outdoor space?
Yeah,
in
they
addition
have
to
a
this?
park, yeah, like they got up right against the park, and they do have a gymnasium. It's a huge space.
It's a tremendous atrium in the entranceway to the school, and it's really high. I mean, I've seen it. I recall going there, and the flooring is not in a condition that anybody could use it. So to me, it's wasted space, and it's a shame that it can't be used. So it might be something you may want to consider.
I just heard back from Ms. Meyer. It's in reference to exterior work that needs to be done to prevent flooding inside of the school when it rains. So I guess there's an issue with the way that the cement work is on the exterior, that on a heavy rain, it winds up coming into the school.
Okay, so that refers to PS 22 with the masonry pit and walkways. It's causing a problem with water going into the building, basically the way up there. So that's something that might be of concern. Thank you, Principal Meyer. Thank you, Dr. Zantona. Let's go through the list, and then we'll come back to what we feel is a priority. But now we know what's going on at PS 20. Next, I have 201.
They want a security camera.
So 201 is looking for security cameras. Same thing. That's probably going to be an issue that we need to speak to our council members. And a resolution A issue, right?
Spoken to their
Next, I have PS 29. Principal Leakey, we are in need of new windows in the older section of our building. So I know windows is an SCA issue if it requires replacement of all the windows. Do we know if any of these windows in the older section of the building, are they Are they all not working, or is it one or two windows? Is Principal Leakey here, or you, oh, Avery was there?
When I visited with Principal Leakey last month, the entire window in the administration building was covered with plastic from top to bottom. And it was billowing out a big plastic bubble as the people were working. So it was literally the entire window was air coming in through it. So it seemed to be pretty significant. I didn't see it on all of the windows, but definitely in the administration area, the older part of the building is significant. It seems to be significant.
Do we know if these windows are in classrooms, or is it in the main part of the building?
I only saw it in the administration section. Is Joe on?
No, I'm trying to find.
Do you know that? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Principal Leakey has commented on that a number of times in the past, just in terms of the windows. I don't know how many he's referencing, but you know that
I'll have to
it's been a
stop
problem.
sharing.
Understood. Carly, do you have,
I
are you able
would
to look at the
I
BCAS
have
right on the
to
window? Because that'd be important, because if it's something that is high priority, a 4 or 5, it might be something significant.
Hold on, Joe.
Don't need to put you on the spot.
No, it's not that. I'm trying to look and not lose the. Oh, here it goes. Can you still see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
PS 29.
Yeah.
Is that what? Architectural, correct?
Yeah.
Windows. Chimney. Doors. Huh? No, it don't say windows on here. Walls. Sorry, guys. More walls.
What's there?
More walls. More. Ah, it should be around here somewhere with the parapets, right? More roofs. More roof. Skylight. Railing, stairs, ramps. Did I pass it? Windows. 3.
Windows, okay, so the BCAS rating has it as fair 3. So let's just make a note of that.
And I'll address with Bill
It's
tomorrow.
not a 4 or 5, but we can appreciate the superintendent to discuss it with Mr. Leroy. We'll come back to this, right? Next, we have PS 32 is requesting, amongst other things, new flooring in the kindergarten wing. The tiles in the wing are all lifted and need replacing. Library upgrade, making the space multimedia center, cafeteria upgrade. So I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I think Mr. Rico is here.
Is Mr. Rico here?
Let me give her the. I saw it that for a second ago.
There she is.
Where? I passed it? I passed it?
Yes, to go back.
Over
Yeah,
here,
she
the
is.
giraffe, yes.
Ms. Rico, are you here?
Yes, I was trying to unmute. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hi, everyone.
How are
Happy
you?
New Year. I really dragged my feet in even completing this, because the truth is we are really appreciative to the CEC for supporting us and making sure that we are able to have the addition that is currently being worked on and is set to open in 2024. So I do know that there are other things that come before PS 32, but it is something, especially my kindergarten wing, as far as, you know, the tiles on the floor, they are all coming up. Currently, we have tape holding them down to show, you know, it looks like a tic-tac-toe boards. And, you know, they're COVID, they're COVID. Now I'm talking about COVID. They're asbestos tiles and things, so they all require abatement, and it's a big project when they have to lift tiles and then put new tiles down. But it is a long overdue project. But again, you know, that might be something that just needs repaired, and it might be something that could be done through DSF. They have been in and looking at it, but
Has DSF been there?
yes, but I think it needs needs to go to the next level because it's going to be that whole wing that would need the replacement. So
It's not just one or two tiles, it's basically the whole flooring.
yes.
Okay,
But-
do you know what the BCAS rating is on that? Do you know, Deborah?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You know what the BCAS rating is on the floor? Did they examine it and give it a rating?
No, I don't know.
Right here.
Sorry.
You wanna look under
No, it's okay. We're looking at the flooring.
flooring? Okay.
And I do know that, just to speak to some of the things that were concerns, because we are now having an upgrade, we are one of those buildings that didn't have a lot of accessibility, but once they start doing work in our building, now everything is going to be upgraded, even in the current structure, so that we are meeting ABA standards.
Yes.
So,
That's a good thing.
right, so like things like my media center could, wait down the line, because I do know that the new building will have space. And I also, just to put it out there, I didn't want to kind of interject earlier, but I thought the new building was supposed to have more seats for 32 than what they're projecting now. So I don't know if that makes a
I
difference.
didn't take note of how many seats, but we'll look into it.
I think they said 376 now, but originally I thought there was over four something. So I don't have the exact numbers, but
376. 346 is what I'm told the number is.
yeah, so and it was definitely in the fours. So I don't know if they had to scale something down or change something, but they.
We will certainly look into it. That's
Sorry,
another
but-
issue, but we'll look into it.
I don't see floors. I'm still seeing walls.
You don't see flooring?
I'm still looking. Parapets.
No worries. Feel free to go to the next
Wait.
projects.
We'll take note of it. We'll come back to it, but you definitely had Mr. Leroy look at it, and it's definitely more than one or two tiles. It's
Right. It's classrooms, and one classroom had their tiles just repaired because it's part of where the new addition will be added. So they had to change egresses and a bathroom there. So all their tiles got replaced because they were not up to code any longer. But now all the rest of the tiles that have been there and have been on the list year after year are now at a point, because we also got water damage in that area. Not substantial like John Bound High School or anything, but we did get water damage from Ida. So there was
understood. Okay. And has it been confirmed that there is asbestos in those tiles, or those are old tiles, right? So they're.
yeah. I mean, a lot of them, they are.
What is that purpose of action 5?
So we're looking at floor structure. We're not sure what that refers to, concrete. But it has level 5 here. I don't know what that photo. No, that's
That's
the
the
boiler
basement.
room.
Yeah, that's the basement. Keep going. Floor structure. Oh, yeah, level 5.
So same thing here.
Priority 3.
It's a priority. That's the basement boiler room.
Keep going, yeah.
We're trying to see if there's anything here regarding the kindergarten wing.
Yeah, I don't know what they call that, like 19.
I'm still looking. I'm
Each
sorry.
of those pieces are like extensions to the building. So like, remember that's the 1939 wing, or the other one's 1974.
Doors, seats, auditorium.
What is that?
These are the seats.
No, the vinyl tiles. What is that? What floor is that?
Where are you looking at?
First floor right there.
This near the
So it
seats.
says instance on first 250 seat. Is that that's not the kindergarten, that's the
Near the stage.
That's the auditorium, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's auditorium.
Walls, ceiling, doors, floor. And this is in the cafeteria. They got it too. Cafeteria. Doors.
Classrooms, that classroom.
4.
Oh, wait, yeah.
You see it?
102, 104, 106, Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, so we see that it was reviewed and it has a priority, was it? Urgency of action, priority 3.
Okay.
The condition is poor.
I don't know.
And the condition 5 is poor, so it's definitely acknowledging that the floors are in poor condition. Okay, so we'll make a note of that, and we'll come back to it as a council. Thank you, Deborah. Always a
Thank
pleasure to see
you. Thank you. Same here.
Okay, so next we have PS 242, masonry improvement brick leakage. I think was I there? Across the street. Across the street right here, okay. Do you have any opinion, does anybody have any opinion on 242?
What is it? What is the, what's the issue?
Masonry improvement brick leakage. So she's asking if this is cosmetic.
Sorry, as long as you add, don't make it work.
Maybe ask her too, Mike, because she put it as cosmetic.
So, yeah, if it's, I mean, if it's a cosmetic issue, I'm not sure if SCA will entertain it, right? But if it's a pointing issue, there's water coming into the building, it might be a more serious problem. Maybe we can get clarification. Let's move on to the next school.
Okay.
129. Electrical upgrades, split units for gymnasium is used, that's for the AC. That might be a reservoir because, well, it's used as a classroom for students. Is that now because of COVID, or is that?
Yes.
So that might be a temporary classroom, correct?
It is, yes.
Okay, so I don't know if that would be something that
Yes, she's meeting
SCA.
tomorrow with.
She's meeting with me, okay, perfect.
So, principal meeting for all principals.
Perfect. Now we go to 379.
What are you doing with 129? You're gonna come back?
So
to
129, there's, the new council member has meetings scheduled with various principals of schools, including 129, and it looks like electrical upgrade will be a reservoir project. Especially in the gymnasium. So I know I personally, reviewed 379 with the flooring. So it's not, and that building has been worked on because they took it over and they've done repairs, but I know the flooring is coming up.
The subfloor.
It's the subfloor, it's underneath it. So to me, it seems like a capital improvement. I just don't know, I mean, it is a tripping hazard. Do you know which classes?
It has 106, it's a lot of.
So it's a lot of different classrooms, so it's a big project, right? So is Principal Klager here?
Hold on, I have to
Pictures too.
She's here. I think I saw that she is.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm here.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah, so I know that when SCA did our building a few years ago, they kept a lot of the old flooring and tile around the building that they could salvage. And I think that they never lifted some of the floor, and now the tiles are coming up and the subflooring is like corroded, and some of the wood under the flooring is really bad. And similar to 32, like some of the tiles have asbestos. Right now, one classroom is closed. My custodian is looking into it because the floor is just really bad and coming up in a big area in more than one room, but in one room specifically. So
Has facilities been there today?
it was just put in. I know Bill Leroy was at my school today, and I'm not sure what he said about it. I didn't follow up after this afternoon.
So this is going through many of your classrooms, I see, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a potential serious problem. Do we have a BCAS?
I don't see it on, I don't see.
Clay, do you know about the BCAS ratings?
No, I mean, like, I don't see the number on here.
379.
It goes from 374 to 378, and then.
They might not have it
Oh, it may not be on because
in new school.
it's a newer school.
Oh, no, 336.
379.
Is that this?
That's it.
But this
It's the building
right?
facilities
Yeah,
code is
336.
336.
336, okay, we're gonna look now.
Okay. Here you are, Ms. Klager. I'm looking for flooring again.
subflooring.
Okay.
And it's on which floor? It's more than one floor, correct?
Yeah, first, second, and third
All right,
floor.
I see.
Two of the biggest classrooms, one's on the first floor and one's on the third floor, that are having like big issues right now.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Klager?
Sure.
So when SCA came to your school a couple years ago and they did a lot of work on it, why did they leave some of the old parts still as they were improving it? Did they give a reasoning behind it? Because I'm sure they knew that the issue will come up in a couple years.
I don't really know. I mean, I came in after the building was built. And I think they tried to preserve some of the historic parts of it. I know a lot of our families and communities went there when they were kids, and some of the tile was still in good shape. And we have like this beautiful terrazzo flooring that they kept that, now if you try to buy terrazzo flooring, is very expensive. And so I think they just tried to preserve some of that history of the building.
So the school was a parochial school that had been closed for a number of years, from my understanding, and then they converted it into your school. So it took time. So
Right.
They may have known about it, or maybe they didn't. I don't know.
It's also a lease building, so I don't know what in the lease they had to preserve and not. That probably plays into some of it as well.
Basement, I think. Let's do the basement. Is this?
So we're looking
Is this
at
anything?
the terrazzo cracks. That refers to what?
Oh no, but these are not terrazzo. These are the vinyl tiles. The terrazzo is not cracked.
Go ahead. Room 121 is one of the rooms.
So room 121 is one of the rooms, and they have a priority 3 replaced, but that's just that room, right?
So are these the vinyl tiles? They did it and then now they have cracks? I'm
not sure.
This is in the basement.
So it seems like the problem is not the actual, it's the flooring.
It's the subfloor underneath the tiles, because the custodians could replace the tile. But once the tiles come up, the subfloor is like not good underneath it.
Yeah. Well, the problems in all the old buildings, I guess.
But it's interesting because this school, they made it, they modernized it and they made it into.
Was that
they're recognizing like throughout the building, so even though each thing is a priority level.
So if SCA did this so if one can go back to them, they need to, this is like, if that's the work they did,
properly, yeah.
then they have to come and fix that problem, because if they put a vinyl flooring on top of without correcting what's underneath it, then that needs to be corrected. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was done 4 or 5 years ago. But I think, I definitely think it's a problem that needs to be addressed. And we will vote on it, I guess, because to me, it seems like a serious condition. And if you're closing your classrooms, it's a problem.
And it might have even been done 6-7 years ago, because we opened 4 years ago.
Right.
So it was done before we opened.
Right. Okay, thank you, Principal Klager.
Thank you.
We'll come back to this. Okay, next we have MS 200.
Carly, am I frozen? Can you scroll down so we can see what Joe is saying. 200.
200 is the security cameras.
200. Can you
I know, but on the screen, I'm saying on the screen it still says.
Do you not have the list, Rushley?
I do have the list.
Okay. Oh, you don't have it in front of you.
No, I have in front of me, but it's always good to look at you and look at the screen at the same time.
I can't do both when I'm sharing over here.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So I I think this is an important one because the reasons that was put up front about bullying and stuff that really caught me. That means something either has gone and needs to be corrected right away, or there is a possibility of that. And it's something that I always believe in being proactive. So it's all about kids. So I think it's something really important. I know it's about security camera, but the reasoning behind really got me.
So the request is for security cameras. We don't know if there's any prior incidents there. I understand your position, Rashmi, and I agree with you, but I don't know if it's something that SCA is going to handle. I don't think, I mean, we can make a statement and put it there, but bottom line is they may just, it's not, I don't think we're gonna change that, right? That we can, bring it for the community, we can draw attention to it, we can ask our community leaders for resume.
I'm gonna email the borough.
Right. No, we can voice it as our CEC, and you're right. In the end, it's their decision.
Right. We can perhaps do a resolution on our theories behind, promoting security cameras in the schools. But I don't think for this particular purpose, we can vote on it. We can, we'll take a vote on it in terms of putting it on our top 5 list for SCA. I understand completely your position and I agree with you. But I don't know if it's gonna, serve the purposes of why we're doing these capital improvement requests to SCA, but we'll come back to take a vote on it. Does anyone else have any comments about MS 200?
So the other security camera request we put as resume with this going to the same thing and with this principal be meeting with Vicky Palladino tomorrow.
No,
that's not this one.
So this is not one of these, is this one of Palladino's? It's not one of Palladino's schools, so it wouldn't fall there, but Rashmi, are you saying that you know of certain incidents that at this particular school that's different from the other schools requesting security cameras?
No, I'm just looking at what is stated, justification of repair, and just the reasons behind it came to me more strongly. Anytime I see something in terms of bullying and school violence and aids in gathering evidence, that sticks to me a little bit strongly, because I just feel that if we have a chance to help decrease that, we should voice towards that. That's what stick to me.
Agreed. Okay. So we'll come back to this. Anyone else has comments on MS 200?
If I could just share a little bit of 242 real quick.
Yes, Dr. Denson. Going back to 242.
It appears that as though it is a cosmetic repair at this point. The bricks, I guess, are leaking. And it just caught, the leaking cannot be taken care of with power washing or anything like that. So right now it's cosmetic.
Okay, so it appears that the request by 242 is a cosmetic one. I don't know if the severity of it, we can take a vote on it later on. But it does not look like a structural or like a water problem other than cosmetic.
Not at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Denson. Okay, so let's move on to the next school.
IS 237.
And we have a request by IS 237. This is for gymnasium locker rooms. Upgrade boys and girls gymnasium locker rooms and bathrooms. So 2 different things, right? Lockers are long and narrow, do not fit students' book bags, clothing, shoes. Locker configuration is outdated. Bathrooms are in disrepair and unsanitary. Do we know anything about the condition of the bathrooms, Superintendent? Is Principal Friedman here?
No.
Do any of our CEC members have any?
Joe, didn't this come up last year too, and on our SCA?
Yeah, this comes up every year, I believe.
So how come SCA has not given, like, and I remember we always put this request as one of the top 5s.
No, that was for their roof.
That was it the roof or the door?
237 roof.
The bathroom you've done for them too.
No, gym, their gymnasium or auditorium, that always comes up.
I know I've been to the school, I've seen the lockers, I know, I don't think that SCA saw it as a priority. We may have put it on our list in the past. Rushme also served in a prior term as CEC member, so you are correct. And like I say, we put in the request and it's not always followed by SCA. So I do have a recollection that we spoke about the lockers at 237. I don't remember about the bathrooms though.
The lockers were not in the
It was in the
lockers were on
hallway.
another floor in the hallway, yeah, not in the gym.
Just a quick question, can we vote on one piece? If you're asking for two things, can we vote on?
Everything is just different.
So I would have to actually ask Ms. Friedman around what she's talking about in terms of bathrooms. Some buildings that are really old have bathrooms that still have the showers in them that are not utilized at all, you know, from the 50s and 60s when you had to, you know, take showers after going to gym. So, but that doesn't mean that students don't have access to bathrooms outside of the gym, right? So you could leave the gym and use the bathroom right outside. So I would need a little bit more information from that. And I also know that in older schools, if some of the locker situations were incorrect, what the gym teacher does is they'll have all the kids put their stuff in there. There'll be supervision in there, and then they lock the door as soon as the students are finished changing, and then they'll open it up at the end of the period. So, but I would need to get more information from Ms. Friedman. I'll get that tomorrow.
Okay, so if you let us know, we can come back and revisit this. We'll move on to the next school. PS 214, playground upgrade. So is Principal Cucillo here? Next. So, Superintendent, do you know what the condition is? The playground is used by the school. Are there outdoor tiles beyond repair? Do you have any personal knowledge of?
I'll speak to Bill Leroy, but I think this is a facilities issue, so I'll look into that tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think SCA will entertain playground upgrades at this time. Moving right along, we have 409, District 25 Pre-K Center in Whitestone. So this is one of the issues I was asking Danielle about with the electrical upgrades and the updating of the existing fire alarm system.
She said it was being addressed.
It's already being addressed, so yeah, if you don't mind following up, Danielle. So I don't think this needs to go on the list because she indicated that they were dealing with it. So with all due respect, we'll move on to the next school. PS 163. So this deals with broken chairs in the auditorium, right? That probably would be facilities. I don't think it's, isn't this a new school? Is the gym?
Yeah, the new wing.
Yeah.
Is it part of the new wing?
I don't know if I have to think.
Principal Massagi here?
No, I don't think it's in the new wing. I think it's in the older wing. But I will speak to Bill about that.
Okay, so we'll look into that, but I think that might be more of a facilities question because again, it's not completely changing all of the chairs. The seating is probably repairing one or two broken chairs. But that's something that facilities can handle, and I don't believe that would necessarily be useful to put on the list for SCA. Next one, we have PS 184, dealing with air conditioning in the school auditorium. Same issue. Remember, we spoke about the project. All classrooms are going to be improved by air conditioners, but does not include auditoriums or gyms. So that's something that Principal DeMilta can ask for a resolution A, and I believe that's also Vicky Palladino's district, right? 184 Baltimore? You know, okay, perfect. Next, we have 189. So, back to the school security camera system. Other than that, we have the building exterior is peeling. I've been there myself. I've taken pictures. It's not peeling in one location. It's peeling throughout the building. I wish I could show you the pictures. And cracking, and there are leaks, and I think it's a environmental hazard from just being there.
And they have the cages on the windows that can come out.
Correct. So I personally have visited the school at the request of Principal Radovich, and I've met with Mr. Leroy, and it doesn't seem like it's a project that facilities could handle. It's something that SCA would have to handle, but it's a big project as well. So,
What about this camera part?
I don't think the camera, so look, every school, some schools have more than one request. The security camera part, I believe that will be a reserve issue, unless, like Rushby says, we make some type of resolution, only for security cameras throughout the schools. But I think the building exterior might be an issue that we need to vote on. So we'll take that up to vote. Move on to the next building. I think we're done, right? Okay, so we've covered all the requests. I know that Sunny's visited some schools also, and we've had discussion from 169 and Bell Academy, the windows. I don't see the request here, but I believe the principal is out. So I don't know, Danielle, you know what the conditions of the windows are at 169 in Bell Academy? In the old window. So apparently what we were told was that someone broke a finger because the window slammed down on.
They don't hold.
They don't hold up.
All of them or just one?
A lot of them.
A lot. Most of them. So some teachers put their books to hold the
Keep the
window.
window up.
And some teachers use a long stick to open the window, but it doesn't work. One of the
All right,
teachers,
let me check on
finger.
Yeah, check with Bill on that because we haven't gotten the request from the school, but if it's something that we can try to remediate, we will. So, council members, you have the list here. Before we go individually, does anybody, I'll entertain any discussions, or if somebody wants to prioritize the project, let me know, and we'll talk about it.
Can I just go over the
Sure.
buildings that I'm gonna go over with Bill Leroy?
Sure.
So
So,
what's, yeah,
Superintendent DeMango is gonna go over with school facilities, Mr. Leroy.
PS 29 with the windows to see if that's an SCA project. 32 with the flooring. 379 with the flooring. 214 with the playgrounds. 237 with the lockers and the bathrooms in the gym locker room. And then 169 with the windows.
So although you're going to speak to Mr. Leroy, it doesn't mean that we can't vote on it with our priorities this evening if we don't have to. Son, I'm gonna give you.
No, I was actually just gonna ask, is there another copy around that I could?
You didn't get a copy?
I didn't get a copy.
Oh, I'm so
just
sorry.
give me one. No, that's this. This? Oh, then it's.
I think it's
Fine. We appreciate that you join us.
Thank you.
And we appreciated your comments this evening. So we definitely are thankful for you as part of our council, and we thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next month, right?
shooting a commercial tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations, good luck.
Thanks.
What kind of commercial?
It's for the show FBI on CBS, like a promo store.
That's fantastic.
It'll be national.
That's great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good luck tomorrow then.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Catherine. So, Sana, you have the list now, okay? Okay, so does anyone have any preference on a project?
Or not for the project, it's just a small.
I want to put the mic because the public has to hear you.
Oh, okay.
I know this is not really a SCA capital plan, but it just came up with me because I visited junior school 185, and one of the problem was the crossing guard. Because they have a two school, 185 and 21. So there's a lot of students, a lot of parents crossing by, but there's also a lot of cars moving vehicles, and they only have one crossing guard. So she was addressing that problem where she requested multiple times, so I just want to bring that up with her.
Is she on here? Still,
Ms.
Shar?
Teresa?
I'm here. I'm here.
So can I ask a question, Teresa? Do you and PS 21 have different arrival and dismissal times that the crossing guard could cover, or do you need more than one for both?
We need more than one for both. We're both coming in around the same time. And we both dismiss around the same time.
Right, okay. So it's something that we can discuss at a later date, but that's come up before, and maybe we can do some type of resolution as well. We'll look into it. But staying focused on the purpose of why we're taking the vote for our capital improvement projects. Does anyone have any priorities they want to list?
Since the Bell Academy that I visited, Joe also addressed the problem. Once again, they share the same building. And another one that I came across with 185 when I visited was the electric. So there's no electric cord for them to put on, so they cannot put any electrical devices in a lunch area. Also, so is there any way that we could put electric in their lunch area? Also, there's also a huge room for the science, for the computer room. It's a huge room, but they cannot utilize the room because on the floor it's old fashioned, all the wires are out and all the computer, the cords are out, so she cannot utilize those rooms, and then she wants to take out those electric cords and out so that she could utilize the room for students. Because at this time, during this time, we need more classrooms, more space, and I think it would be great if she could utilize that.
So is that a request? So that room I looked at with Ms. Bashar when I was there last week, and I know that she's put in a request for facilities, but they're gonna need an electrician to come and pull all that out. So I think we're working on that one already.
Okay, so I don't know, have any of the council members submitted their priorities?
Joe, I just did like 379 and MS, PSMS 200.
Okay, so 379. You'd like that on priority, and which is the other one, 200?
Yeah, it's MS, PS, so it's elementary.
It's a K-8.
Oh, which one?
Okay. Yeah, so that's,
K-8, yeah.
okay.
What was the issue there?
Yeah.
Cameras? Okay, anybody else? Dr. Rushby's request is noted. What's that? Mhm.
Space right now, it seems like that should be a priority, especially if it's not utilized.
Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear what Anne Marie said.
The PS20 with the wasted space in the atrium, to convert that into classrooms or usable space would be a high priority.
Noted, anybody else?
And PSMS 164, where it says the kindergarten courtyard.
So that's playground redevelopment, okay.
Mm.
Anybody else? Anything else?
I thought you were saying that was a,
So
resolution.
it's on the list, we're gonna take a vote on it. So right now I have on the top, we'll up and down, 379, 200, 20, 164. What about PS 32? 32, the flooring in the kindergarten, right?
And also 22, the floor, flooding issue, like she mentioned, about this caused more damage.
Which one is that?
22.
First page.
22?
Yeah.
Okay,
So 22 has a brick leakage, the one in the,
That's just.
so that's DSF.
Yeah.
yes, we just put 330. And, you know, I wanted to put in 189 with the building exterior. Like I said, I've been there. And if you drive by the building, you'll see, it looks like the whole exterior is chipping. You know, my concern was the students picking up the paint chips and putting them in their mouth, but, you know, I know they're older kids. I was looking at, you know, younger children, but it's an eyesore.
So just actually, two things that I want to kind of put out for your consideration. I think 189 and IS 25 are falling into a similar category where they're stuck in between DSF and SCA. I will tell you the IS 25 concern, and I'm going to agree with what was said before in that it's been way too long and there's not a decision being made. So maybe as the CEC, you want to address that, even though they're looking at it and it's a red dot and it's all, you know, putting a net up there, it's, I don't know. And I agree with what Catherine said, you know, the decision was made to put a high school there. So the fact that the facilities in SCA is saying, you know, you have to limit phys ed restrictions is not enough for me. And she's right, you know, beach balls and badminton are not part of the high school phys ed curriculum, and that was a solution. And although I think the principals are trying, you know, and maintaining the safety, it's should be made. So that's something that I would ask for you guys to consider putting down there and making that statement to say, you know, get on there and make a decision. The second is 189, and 189 is not a safety concern, I would say, and I know that was really, but the problem that he's talking about is that the building has an outdoor glaze to it, and years ago there was a different, there were kids that were graffitiing the building and they were breaking into the school, which is why you have the rusty cages over the windows. And what happened was the facilities just keeps painting the building to make it look nice, but without certain things happening to the building which are costly. What happens is like whole strips of paint just peel off the glaze. It would be like if you're trying to paint over tile in your bathroom. So the entire building needs to, what they've talked to me about, and I know Joe was there, it needs to be sandblasted properly and painted. And then we don't have the same issues with crime over there now, and all of those gates might be able to come off the windows, the rusted gates that just make the school not a warm and welcoming environment for students. And you know, it's been years that we've been pushing for that. So just something to consider. I mean, I know that that is technically cosmetic, but it's really not necessary. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more than cosmetic. Having been there, I mean, I've seen water go through certain areas. There are rusting. Those cages are rusting. I know kids have been climbing them. I mean, I know it's a problem. I think it's a safety issue. That's my personal opinion, but I agree. I think that should be on the list of priorities. And I also agree with IS 25. I mean, although it's not in the school did not submit that request, I know it's been on the radar for quite some time, and maybe we have to make some type of statement. So I would ask that we put that on the priority as well. Anybody else have any other priorities they want to put on, and then we'll take some vote on it? So I have, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I have 8 schools here. So correct me if I'm wrong, I got, and not in any order yet, but we have 379, 200, 20, 164, 32, 22, 189, and 25. I have 25. So I'll repeat, if you want to write it down, I have 379, 200, 20, 164, 32, 22, 189, and I is 25. So Sonny wants to put in Bell Academy 169 with the windows. We can put that there. We can vote on it. Are there any other requests? So we narrow it down. We have 9 schools. Okay. So we need to obtain. We can list all 9, but we need to get the top 5, right? So how do we do this? Let's go through the council members and ask for the priority, the top 2, I guess, and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Hi, Joe. It's
Hi,
Wendy.
Hey, Wendy, how are you?
Good. How are you? I put in the I put in the chat. Sorry. Yeah, my camera's not working right now. I put in the chat that I picked 379 with the flooring as a priority, and also 189. But it also seems like 242 has a similar problem to 189, but the description is not clear.
So I'm not sure if you heard, Dr. D'Antona spoke to the principal of 242, and it seems to be a cosmetic issue.
Okay.
Not something with water going, it's an eyesore, but it's not something where water is going inside the building.
Okay.
If you want to put it on the list, we can put it on the list and we can take a vote on it.
No. I think 379 and 189 and 32 are the, and 25 are the priorities that I've chosen.
Say that again, Wendy, I'm sorry.
So Wendy has 379, 189, 32, and I is 25 as her.
Right. Right.
You have a 5th?
Do I have a 5th?
Correct.
How many schools are we supposed to pick?
Oh, I would suggest we put all
20
on the list, but they're looking at the top 5. So
That's what we usually do. We put the top 5 and then I just list the.
we put all the requests in, but we vote on the top 5. So any school that put a request in, be it for even a school camera or whatnot, we're going to include that on our list, but we're not putting it as our top 5 priority. So understand, we're not discounting anyone's request. We're just voting on the top 5. So
My
so
5th.
far we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 9, right? But so if you want to give us your 5th, then we can take it from there.
Yeah, my 5th is PS20 with the atrium.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy. Carly's
You're
taking notes, right? Okay, so why don't we go CEC member by CEC member? Let's do the remote first. Wendy, thank you. Mr. Chow, are you there?
Yes.
Do you have your 5 priorities?
I don't have my 5, but I have a few.
Okay.
I agree with the superintendent. The I-25 situation is dangerous, so that should be on the top. I mean, I was trying to be nice. I didn't want to be mean to the guy. His solution of having high school in I-25 was not acceptable. I mean, it's a dangerous situation. Obviously, they can't take the high school out. So I would go IS-25, 200, 189, and there was a 200, right? And then 32.
Okay. So we got 25, 200, 189, 200, and 32.
Right. 20.
You
Okay,
said
so
200 twice.
I'm sorry. I wrote 21. And then it's IS-25, 200, 189, 21, and 32.
20.
There's no 21, is it?
20.
20?
20? Okay. 20, that's the one with the schoolyard situation, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Rashmi, put in the chat.
Yeah, so IS 25, 200, 379, and 20. I guess I have one more.
Yes. Two more.
Okay,
25, 200, 379, 20.
and then
One more.
one more. I'm thinking either 89 or 32. What was the 32 problem? 32 was
The floor.
kindergarten
The
wing.
kindergarten floor.
Yeah, yeah, 32.
Okay, thank you. Who else is there remote? We got Wendy, we got Mr. Chow, we got Rashmi. Michelle, are you there? Looking at the chat.
She's not there.
We'll come
She's
back.
not there.
We'll come back to it. Is she not on anymore? Okay. Next, one speak, let me go. Anne Marie. 25, 379, 189, 20, and 32.
25 is at first, right? Yeah, it's 25, 29, 79.
Okay, so shall I go? Okay, so I say 379, 25, 189, 32, 169.
Should I go? Yeah.
Yeah.
379, 32, 69, 189, that's 25.
Okay,
And some.
and son.
Yes. So my first one is 379, 189, highest 25, 7, and then 20.
237, right?
Yeah. With the gym, the gym, with the lockers.
The
Lockers,
lockers,
yes.
Okay, so is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7? What about, is Michelle back?
I don't see her. No. No.
So with the assistance of Superintendent Danielle, she's counting how many votes for each school.
Thank you.
Oh, you did? All right.
So
Italian.
the top, the number one school with the most votes, we have 7 that voted for IS 25, 6 for 189, 6 for 379, 6 for 32, 4 for 20, the rest of you. Is that the top 5? And those are our top 5. So let's do it once again. So the number one request from all the CEC members is IS 25. So that will be the first priority. Then we have to vote on between 189, 379, and 32.
I have 25 to be, so that to be clear, is the ceiling in the gym, is that what I'm putting?
Correct. So,
Right.
preference, so now we have to single out 189, 379, and 32.
And 20, right?
Those got, all three got 6 votes.
Okay.
So, I'll start, and I would prefer 189 come second. Mr. Chow,
Yes.
from 189, 379, or 32, what's your top choice? Your second choice, in other words, what's most on the priority list?
Hello.
Yes,
We can hear you loud and clear.
we can hear you, Mr. Chow.
Yes. What you want me to pick from the rest? I don't know. Let me see.
No, from the following three, what is your priority? 189, 379, or 32?
Probably 32.
Okay,
Because 189 sounded like a very extensive job.
a very what?
Extensive job.
It is. But that's the function of SCA. But you suggest 32, okay? Who's next? Wendy?
I suggest 379.
Okay. Rashmi?
I would say 32 because it's kindergarten kids. Yeah, 32.
Okay. Michelle's not there. Anne Marie? 189. 32. And 189. So we're tied between 189 and 32 as our second choice.
Okay.
So that's
We
elimination,
wait.
right?
What is 189 again? I can't see it on the list.
189 is the exterior paint's peeling off.
So between 189 and 32?
It is.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Between 189 and 32, what's your priority? I'll start 189. Mr. Chow?
Yes.
Between 189 and PS 32, what's your priority?
Did you ask me to change to 189?
Yeah, so the second top choice, it's a tie between 189 and PS 32. Which do you prefer as number two? Are you standing by 32?
I stand by 32. I stand by Shirley and the new addition to the building will make it look more compatible.
Okay. Wendy,
189.
okay. Rashmi? Between 189 and 32, what do you prefer as second choice?
Let's see, 182. I'll go with 32.
Okay. Who am I missing? Emery? Emery has 189. Honey? 32.
It's a tough call for me, it's a really tough call because I'm looking at the criteria, is it a capital improvement project? And does it have some sort of permanence, right? Like the biggest ROI. And like you said, Giovanni, a lot of parents make decisions, especially these days when you cannot go inside the school building based on what the building looks like outside. If from the outside you're repelled, it impacts, the children's sense of attachment to the school. It impacts everybody who wants to do. So it's a tough one. I would say 189.
189, okay. So what's the vote? So we have 4 for 189 and 3 for 32. So what we're gonna do is top choice is 25, then 189, and I'm assuming the third choice will be 32, correct?
Yep.
And then we are left with 379 as next on our priority. That's number 4, correct? And then number 5 would be PS 20.
What was number 3?
Number 3 is 32.
So by process of elimination and number of votes, we have decided that the following 5 schools would be listed on the first, on the top 5 schools requesting capital improvements from CEC District 25. We have number 1, IS 25, number 2, PS 189, number 3, PS 32, number 4, MS 379, and number 5, PS 20. Is that correct? Holly, you have that?
Yes.
Then I'm assuming that we can put the other schools under that. Want to read it out so the council members hear it, Carly? Top five projects.
Okay, I've got IS 25, the ceiling in the gym. Junior high school 189, the building exterior. PS 32, new flooring in the kindergarten wing. MS 379, flooring, right? The whole subfloor. Subflooring, I'm sorry. Subflooring. PS 20 is the atrium space.
So those will be our top 5 priorities, and then we will put all the other schools underneath that. So this way, no school is excluded. Even those, I know that there's a meeting tomorrow scheduled with Council Member Palladino in some schools. Superintendent Demaglia, you will follow up, if you don't mind, with Mr. Leroy. And we will, look on to see what they do, and we will follow up. I agree with Rashmi's argument that, school cameras is something of paramount concern. Maybe that's something we can discuss at a later meeting and perhaps do a resolution.
So 2 additional items that I'm going to look into and get back to CEC is the crossing guard question, as well as the school camera list of where our schools are falling on the list of installation, and I'll make sure that that comes back to you guys.
Okay, so if there's no other comments or any new business to deal during this long calendar meeting, I will ask, is there any motion for an adjournment?
I do motion. Rashmi.
Motion to adjourn. We got Rashmi and we got Emery seconded the motion. So our calendar meeting is hereby adjourned. We will take a quick 1-minute break and then go into a 2-minute break quickly and then jump into our business meeting. Thank you, everyone. I think we had a successful meeting. It was a little tedious, but it worked out well. And I thank the public and the principals and everyone who attended and helping us this evening. Thank you. See you next month at our next CEC meeting, which is scheduled for the first Wednesday in February, right? Is it? I don't have my calendar with me.
February 9th is on the agenda.
February 9th is our next meeting date. Thank you. 2-minute break. I'm sorry, guys, but I think we had a productive meeting, so that was good. Let's start. Let's call the business meeting to order, and a roll call, please. It's 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It's
not.
Yes, our meetings usually are not this long.
Wendy,
Present.
Emery Knable, Joseph Chow,
Present.
Sung Young Lee, present, Rashmi Krishnaraj,
Present.
Michelle Frederick, I don't see her. Sana Tayeb, present, and Catherine Patterson.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. So I just want to, before we discuss any new business, I just want to congratulate all the CEC members. We had a successful special meeting last week. We came on today as a hybrid meeting. We had full attendance, which is wonderful. So the hybrid situation works. I commend you all for the respect you give to each other, and I just remind you that we are always looking to treat with each other with the utmost of respect. We had a lot on the agenda today for the calendar meeting. We worked successfully, and I think we made progress. So I want to congratulate you all and thank you all for your time and dedication, especially at this late time. So I know there's a lot that I want to bring to in new business, but I can wait till the following month. But I do want to just put something in your ears because there is a request for us to meet with President's Council, and in the past, it is kind of our responsibility to meet with the members of President's Council to discuss community concerns, because we're here for the community. We represent the community as elected officials in the community. And the President's Council is a point of contact between the PTAs and the members of our community. So not all council members have to be present. We can talk about it at our next meeting, but I know there's a request to meet with President's Council. They're generally a bigger group than we are. I don't think they're meeting in person. I think they're meeting remotely. So at the next meeting, something for you to consider. We should open up the doors of communication with President's Council with the assistance of the district office. So that's something for us to consider. I've also been in touch with various presidents of the various councils throughout the city, and there are some proposed resolutions they wanted me to bring up with you guys. I think you were on the emails, but there's one regarding governance of the CEC, and there's another one on English language learners. We'll talk about that in the future as well. I know we have a subcommittee here that was formed regarding anti-Asian hate crimes. I'm not sure if Mr. Chow wants to report on behalf of the subcommittee. Do you want to report at this time, Mr. Chow?
Yes, now that we have a full council, I'm going to finish I'm not done yet. I'm going to finish it, and then I'm going to call for a subcommittee meeting. Then we'll hopefully be able to present it next month.
So just for Sana, because Sana's new to the council, do you want to explain what the purpose of the subcommittee is? Or do you want to explain?
Well, in the year of 2000 and 2021, the hate crime against Asian rose by a large percent. I don't remember the specific numbers. The Grace Mound has passed, legislations. John Liu and a whole bunch of other organizations were active in trying to prevent crimes against Asian. District 26 already passed a resolution because we really hadn't had the opportunity to have quorum in the past few months. I didn't finish it, so I'm going to finish it now.
So yes, so Mr. Chow is the chair of the subcommittee. You're free to join that subcommittee if you'd like. I know most of the other members here are members, Anne Marie as well. So I think the statement that the CEC wants to make is we are against any type of hate crimes, but particularly Mr. Chow called for this particular subgroup and wants to bring out a resolution. So I think it's something that the special committee should meet on and discuss and prepare a resolution for us to vote on if it's something that we can all agree on. So I think, Mr. Chow, you need to discuss that with your subcommittee, and we look forward to hearing about some progress by next month, hopefully.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Is there anyone else that would like to discuss any new business? Anybody here? Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for February 9th. Do we know what's on the agenda for that meeting, Carly?
Everything you just said.
So I'm not, but I'm saying, we don't have any speakers. Okay.
I'm gonna try to get school safety and maybe if I can get someone from what did you say, special ed, to maybe just address that. Just
NYCSCA.
So I'm not sure if the other members heard about the discussion. You want to comment on that, Danielle? Or Emery?
Guys, during the break, letting Superintendent Mango know that I spoke with Ms. Leakey at CS 29 last month. And one of the things that we were talking about was the increase in the number of requests for IEPs. And it's not necessarily always, the first instinct shouldn't be to request an IEP, but to see what's the issue, what's going on. A lot of these kids are dealing with just structural issues and just getting back into the swing of things with the back and forth of being in and out of school. So I think that parents are maybe not informed on what exactly an IEP is and how they can address the different issues that their children are having, that there are other resources. I'm going to pass it to Superintendent now.
So I was telling Anne-Marie too that we have a lot of parents who are concerned about learning gaps and how we're targeting them as a district, and we know that many of our students are experiencing them. One of the things that I keep saying over and over, because it's just amazing to me, and Mr. Chow, you'll be amazed by it too. So my daughter is in 11th grade and has never taken a Regents exam, and it's because of the pandemic. So think about the learning gaps that a lot of our students have, and I do understand the concern. So there's two things, Dr. D'Antona and I have done work on supporting teachers and understanding the difference between learning gaps and learning disabilities, right? Learning gaps can very quickly be adjusted based on interventions that we have, right? So I spoke about the work that we're doing in the district on MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of supports. And it's one of the things that we're using all of our assessments that our students are taking, our iReady, our Obedience, to really to get teachers to have a clear understanding of where their students are in terms of these learning gaps, because we're recognizing that they exist, right? And then the way we are targeting them is in 3 tiers, right? Tier 1 is things that can be adjusted in the classroom. What are some of the access points? How can a teacher correct some misunderstandings, right? Or misinterpretations of the standard, right? And what do those supports look like, and how do we communicate that to parents? The second is sometimes we need additional interventions, such as Great Leaps if you're struggling with fluency, or LLI to cover some reading comprehension and other types of issues, or some of the math interventions that our schools are doing, right? And those maybe pull out our after school, very similar to the recovery that we're doing for special education. And then tier 3, we start really talking about making those referrals to special education. So there's different levels, and maybe that's something you want me to have somebody come and present on the different levels of MTSS so parents know to ask for them. I have had conversations with a lot of parents to say schools shouldn't be saying we don't do that because MTSS is a state expectation.
That's a great idea, thank you. So Carly, you look into it between now and then about what we put on our agenda. Of course, we run it by all the CEC members. Anything else, guys? Anything else you'd like to discuss?
Hey Joe, this is Rashmi. So for what Danielle said, I mean, for next month, is it possible, along with the special ed presentation, we also invite some kind of some guidance counselor, because now we are speaking from parents' perspectives. I want to hear from guidance counselors how these kids are now after they have come back to school and from their perspective, so we can have a whole 360-degree view of what.
I'm not sure if that's something that they can comment on, can they?
So I can say that part of MTSS is dealing with social and emotional concerns, but we can definitely ask somebody to come in and speak alongside the presenter for MTSS, just from the borough, who actually does trainings for our guidance counselors around trauma and some of the social emotional concerns that our students are facing in their return from the pandemic.
Oh yeah, cool, great.
That'd be a great idea. So if we can facilitate that, Carly, if you can find out, that's wonderful. We get full circle. So this COVID thing is still not over, and CEC is getting a lot of emails from parents. You guys have seen them, that they're concerned about sending their kids to school, and I know what the message is from the mayor and the chancellor. So I mean, it's something that we probably we're going to revisit again in February, because we are getting a lot of emails from parents that don't want to send their kids to school. We're directing them to call the district office. So, we appreciate that, but they're not. So, let's see what happens this month, and we'll have to talk about it again next month. I believe we have to adjourn the meeting because they're closing the building down, and it is 10:15. So quickly, if anyone else has any comments. Okay, so any motions to adjourn this meeting? Sonny made the motion, Emery seconded the motion. The meeting is hereby adjourned. We look forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday, February 9th. Council members, if there's anything you want to discuss, please send me or call me the email and we can circulate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a good night.
Bye. Happy New Year.